What is going on, everybody? This is DH Thorn with your best friend Fleshy coming at you live tonight. The shadows are dancing everywhere. Everywhere the shadows are dancing. What's going on, everybody?
I am happy to see you again for another week of mischief and mayhem, Bruda.
I don't think we get up to that much mayhem anymore, guys. I think we've become predictable as kittens. Actually, kittens aren't very predictable, are they?
Yeah, that's an awful comparison.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Man.
Is that a fucking mug or a soup bowl?
Exactly. Look, I'm a huge person.
Yeah, you're a huge person. That looks like a huge fucking cup, so that thing is probably like my chest.
Stand back, I take large steps. No, it's the 20-ounce mug bowl.
Okay.
So it's meant for like soup, tea, coffee, whatever you want to stick in there.
The blood of your enemies.
Right. I mean, you gotta have a lot of enemies to fill this fucker, and I guess I do.
Or just one enemy with a lot of blood.
Ooh.
It's like that fucking serial killer, what's his name? Berkowitz or something like that? The guy with too much blood.
Specifically, I am drinking butterscotch tea.
I hate
Imagine
you. That
shit.
sounds delicious.
It's like the best of coffee and tea together because you get a little bit of that coffee, but I hate coffee, but it's like the good part of coffee. I don't know. It's pretty good.
What is everybody drinking? Sound off in chat, because now I'm kind of curious.
Bodily fluids don't count. That's more like eating.
And tonight, so originally we were going to have a guest on the stream, and schedules got a little bit fucky-wucky, and they had some shit going on, so we had to drop, and figured we'd make this a Q&A tonight. So we have absolutely no idea what we're going to talk about. We are but a ship in windless ocean with our sails out, so give us a little bit of wind and push us in whichever direction you want us to go. So
Fucking streams canceled. Let's play some Sea of Thieves. Let's go.
It's not Gay Pride Month anymore. We can't do that.
Well, it could be. They don't have to know.
Every month is
Look, did you ever see those? Do you ever see those movies where like the Japanese guys are like isolated on an island in World War II and they don't know that the world came to an end? The war came to an end, and they still think. So that's you and me right now. We don't know if Pride Month's over. We still think it's still going on.
Okay, I dig it. And
let's do this.
Thank you, Jay Sauber, for that super chat. Appreciate you, dude.
Thank you, Jay.
Oh,
appreciate you.
And for anybody who's new, who hasn't watched this before, if you have a question, try to either put it in all caps or tag @Yepsen, YEPSEN, so it's easier for me to catch it and bring it to this guy's attention.
And not to sound like we're greedy, but super chat will always get read. So
super chats bump right up to the top of the list.
Yeah.
Is that?
No.
That's just our little thank you.
Yeah. So let's see. We got about 32 people in here. That's a pretty good start. Let me. I love the music, but you know what? I think we've been playing it for a while already. Let's give it a break. Relax, there, music. Relax.
Take the night off. Just fuck
Take
off,
the night
boys.
Off. Yeah, fuck off with that shit. I feel like I need some new music. What's this one? Let's try this one. This probably sucks. Oh, it's like a minute long. It's gonna get so repetitive. No. No.
So hold on. I'm trying to bounce back. I was actually having a conversation with Eddie the other night while we were...
Eddie?
Yeah.
That guy? No, man.
That motherfucker. While we were both... I think it was mutual sleep deprivation and all this bullshit, and just traveled back and back from like music and magic and all this other bullshit, and we had the discussion of art being a representation of constraint and how that applies to magic. Specifically, this came about from a discussion of chaos magic embracing everything, whereas different paths are kind of a palette of colors, so to speak.
Sure. You know, if you're really going to embrace everything, you have to embrace the nothing as well. You have to embrace limitation as much as you have to, you know, limitlessness means nothing without limit.
And that's not even to say, like, just painting over the canvas with black. That's to say fuck the canvas. I'm gonna just sit here with my eyes closed.
You know, art requires a canvas of some kind. You know, art without limitation is just nonsense.
Yeah, that was the thing that I kind of came about to, is that art is restraint, but you know, that box that you put on it doesn't have to be fixed. It can always be moving.
Oh, sure.
Like everything is art, but the specific intention of art, you have to put some kind of box around it in order to start creating.
Yeah, I mean, the medium is fluid, but there has to be a medium. And C.J. Anger, I believe, knows my position on it. Magic really is art.
Mm-hmm.
Magic is not a force. It is not a power. It is not a superpower. It is not... It's not magic, like in the way Hollywood and the literal world would want you to think. Magic is better described as a form of art. And what does art do? We've talked about this on our live streams several times now. You know, art is what puts you into a sort of resonance with something that maybe you don't see. It's a form of communication. Art is a form of communication, and it can be communication with the self as much as it is with others.
It's a form of communication, and in a way, I also feel like it's a representation of godhood, or you are creating, just as, you know, within the myth of God creating everything in 7 days and all of that, you are putting something out there into the world. You're taking the reins of God.
Let's even take the word create out of it, because create implies that it wasn't already there.
Would you suggest manifest instead?
Yeah, I like manifest. I'm working on... I'm not saying I would never use the word create, I will. But I feel like from our perspective, it looks like creation, but from the perspective of the divine, the true non-dual source, if you will, nothing is created or destroyed. It's always there. All you're really doing is objectifying it, taking it as an idea, encapsulating it with whatever. So think of it kind of like life, right? Let's hopefully I don't get too far in a weird-ass rant, but let's think about life for a moment.
I mean, that's what we're here for.
Let's think about life. Well, I mean, literally, specifically, biological life forms as in a cell. What separates a cell, a living organism, a bacteria, from the water around it?
Cell walls, membranes.
Yeah, cell walls, membranes. What are those membranes made out of? Right?
As a really
Lipids
really quick interjection, we have a super chat from Nina the Mystic. She says, greetings and thanks for having me on last week. Appreciate you, Nina. She is premiering it again on her channel on Sunday, so join her in the live chat. So.
Thank you, Nina. You were a great guest. We will do it again. We should do like a third channel where it's just me and Nina talking about politics and the current state of the world, like just me and her.
Oh, okay, yeah, that would be perfect.
I wouldn't subject you to that. I know we'd probably...
I wouldn't have to do fucking NyQuil shots every 5 seconds. Just make it stop, make it stop, make it stop. I love both of you. I just fucking hate political discussion. So I'm sorry, I cut you off. The membranes separate the cells from the water.
So what separates what's alive from what's not within a cell? Every little piece of it is something you could find floating around in the environment. The simplest primordial cells, they think, possibly, they're probably wrong, by the way, but we're possibly little bubbles that formed around hydrothermal vents. Like literally they were bubbles encapsulating a lucky grab of chemistry that just happened to self-replicate. Yes, Lorraine, exactly. Fatty acids. That's what I was saying. Lipids. That's Lorraine Francom says fatty acids are in the cell wall. Exactly. Lipids, fats. Okay. Yeah. So I guess I'm a big cell, but the drum roll, please. But
you're the mitochondria. You're the powerhouse of this cell.
So everything within the cell is the same as everything that's on the outside of the cell. This is part of that fractal realization of divinity and life and the bigger picture. Everything about your belief in life or art or creation. So would we say that a cell is a creation when all it is a concentration of stuff that's already there? Nothing is there that's been created, nothing new. It's just an arrangement. It's just a specific arrangement of what's already been there. And that's assuming that what we see about time and space is real and not just an illusion. If we take the material dream to be literal, as it looks, then we will find that nothing is created or destroyed. It's just rearranged in different ways. We know this in science very clearly. This is a very important thing to recognize. So let's do away with the idea of creation, maybe. Let's do away with it. I know it sounds terrible. A lot of my childhood art teachers are probably like swooning around, you son of a bitch! You know, but quite sincerely, do away with the idea that you or anything can create anything.
You know, I realize this is a total tangent to this conversation, but it's something I was thinking about recently that I feel like you're leading with. And I have a couple questions here. I will get back to it. Sorry.
Sí, señorita.
Indulge me for a minute. So one thing that we are all really familiar with in our respective practices and everything is keeping things occulted and, you know, turning normal words into occulted words, giving them different spins and different definitions, where what you're saying is that we shouldn't use created. We should say rearranged or whatnot. But at the same time, I could argue that we could say create as a shorthand, as a quick method of understanding, even though
you could accept the words that people use shape what they think a lot.
Yeah, and that's where I wanted to lead with that, is how I'm kind of just thinking out loud, and I want to see if you have anything to say to it, is should we worry about keeping some of these things occulted, or just really try to reshape?
Because you know, the Kabbalion says, you know, don't cast your pearls before swine. I think the Bible says basically the same thing. The thing here is that we've reached a stage in reality, a period, where those who have the eyes to see will see, and those who don't, you could tell them exactly what's going on and they won't. It really doesn't matter. There's no reason to keep it hidden, because who are you keeping it hidden from? You know, it's sort of the age-old argument. It's kind of like why your bosses don't like you sharing your income with your fellow workers, right? So why don't they want us sharing the truth? Now, here's the thing. The occulted side should always be what's really personal to you. But what I'm telling you is stuff that's kind of obvious. Nothing that I'm saying to you guys is hidden anywhere. Nothing I'm saying to you is hard to see. You just have to actually really want to look, and it helps if you have a certain openness in your awareness that's derived from having some sort of non-dual awakening, whether it's an intense one or a very tertiary one. Once you begin to open your eyes, you can't help but start to see the things that I'm talking about. Doesn't mean I'm always right, but the real thing at work here is that, you know, there is such a thing as oversharing, of course. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I don't talk about, you know, everything I do in magic. In fact, I have become more reclusive lately than before. But
so some stuff just needs to stay on the altar, stay in the ritual bedchamber.
But here's the problem. We've spent so much time, you know, occulting things. You know, the things that we were talking about last week would not be possible if everybody was aware that they are part of the non-dual consciousness of infinity. It wouldn't be possible to lead sheep to slaughter if they didn't fear the wolf. If they just said, oh, well, I'm part of it's one big, beautiful system. Okay. It would be a lot harder to coerce people, whatever you believe, if everybody realized that they were what they truly are. And it can still get you down. You can still be depressed. You can still be sad. It really depends on your level of attachment. But if everybody was, instead of being born with this us versus them mentality and this I'm broken mentality, if everybody was born with a mentality of that we are all divinity, if the namaste thing wasn't just a word, and I even mean in that culture, if you go to India, it's very rote to them. They see it like we do Christianity almost. It's like, not many, you know, Same thing with Buddhism. You know, you go to Japan, people attend these monasteries and stuff because they have to. It's part of their tradition. But very few of them actually believe in it. You know, just like with Christianity, very few people believe in it.
Yeah, I kind of wonder, you know, if there's somebody in a faraway country just I need to get to America. That's the land of Christians. That's what I believe. Everything's so good there. Everybody believes in it, and then they get, well, I won't get into that whole rant, but then they get over here and see how it's practiced, what the day-to-day reality is.
That's like a lot of weebos that go to Japan, you know. They find out the same thing. Ajna says some brilliant stuff. He says, or she, I never really learned. I always forgot. Ajna says the dark iconography is a great filter too, and that's absolutely right. In fact, here's the real thing. There's a reason why the movie Split really speaks to me, and there's a reason why I say that we're on the island of misfit toys. And this is because people who have not learned to see through the illusions of what scares them, or have deep attachments to things being hunky-dory and happy, people who have not suffered and realize the impermanence and lack of importance of their mortal frame a little bit, they're not ready to really let go. They're not really ready to see the truth. So the dark shadow motif, the edgelord stuff that people makes fun of a little bit, that's occultation enough in my book. And it's not really any different than, you know, maybe old-time Buddhists who wore the orange of prisoner robes. You know, that's one of the reasons why the Mahayanas wore that orange. It's not because it was occulted, but it's kind of like, you know, you were setting yourself apart. You're setting yourself as separate. And this is taught in every religion and every spiritual path. That one of the things that happens is a kind of alienation from your common friends and lovers and brothers and sisters and countrymen. You really do become part of a new paradigm, and you can't look at the world or the people in it the same ever again. This is why so many of them go to monasteries and stuff, because the outside world is just disgusting when, you know, you can't escape. And that's unfortunate, because I prefer to stay in the world if I can help it. But more and more I find myself really wanting to flee to that monastery on the hill, you know, and just watch it all burn, because it's just so, it's become so painful to just wade through it. It's like, it's almost like Kindergarten Cop, you know, when he's they're animals, you know, it's kind of like that. So yeah.
This is what you tune in for, people. You see D.H. Thorne make a grasp at Arnold for occult wisdom.
Like, I could grasp in a lot of fun places. Yeah, man.
I love that you do that, and it's so fucking. Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, in particular. I don't know if that's just because you're a child of the '80s or what. Like, there's a lot of occult.
I mean, he pissed me off like the
Arnold.
last 24, 48 hours with his whole, you know, fuck your freedom thing. But other than that, I love his fucking movies. Like, his movies are some of my favorite movies ever made. Like, for real. Like, if I was locked in a bomb shelter and I could only pick, like, you know, a handful of movies, there would at least have to be a couple Arnie movies in there. I don't know, like, if I'd put them in the top 10, top 5, but a couple would have to go in the bunker. I mean, I couldn't, you know, like Conan I could watch over and over practically. So,
oh yeah,
you know, I love Conan. So
if you want a really fun treat, you should turn on the commentary on some of his movies where he's commentating on it, because he doesn't so much give you behind the scenes bullshit as he gives you a moment to moment breakdown of the scene that you're watching in a very surface level way. Just, okay, so here I am getting inside of the taxi and I'm very irritated because he is a robot and he's not understanding me.
I loved when he did the one for Conan. You could tell that he had a boner for Thulsa Doom. Like, he played Conan the hero, and he still preferred, he thought Thulsa Doom was the badass. And I agree with him. Thulsa Doom was way more, like, that's like, oh,
So
Yeah, that's the kind of villain I want to be. Hell yeah.
so here I am. I'm thinking in my character's mind head at this moment. Should I pull out my sword or should I pull up my loincloth and pull out my other sword? Because his voice is just so deep. It resonates power. Okay, I'm gonna end my fucking bad Arnie impersonation and I'm gonna get to some questions. So I have been noticing them, all the ones that people are tagging me with, and I am jotting them down. So first one we got on here was from Wyatt Coverdale. He asked, "This is oh no, this is from this stream." He says, "This is one that I think is important. At first I came to the conclusion from this channel that nothing exists and that all is a dream, but then I realized that reality is still there. Not to..." I think he made a second message and I didn't catch it. Sorry,
Okay.
dude.
I'll see if we can find the other half, but if not, so yes. So the understanding of Maya, of non-dual, the dream, okay, is that there is something there. It's just not what you think it is. It's not, nothing that you think about it properly encapsulates it. It means that everything that you see is an illusion. That doesn't mean that there's nothing there. It's like a hologram in a way. But it means that you don't see reality for reality. You see reality like an overlay, like a desktop operating system. So, like, when I pick up this lighter, this isn't a lighter. This is a collection of something. It's a concentration of something. There's no question, I have the experience of this thing. But the moment I start to define, differentiate, and decide what it is the moment it stops being what it actually is. That's the act of creation, really manifestation. I'm not really creating a lighter when I pick it up, but I'm manifesting lighterness. I'm evoking lighterness into this, and we shouldn't even give it a name. In fact, there's a very famous, well, to me it's very famous. I know it by heart, but there's a scene in an Alan Watts lecture where he says, you know, I'm trying to paraphrase it so it makes sense. He's basically holding a bell or a gong, and he says, reality is, and he bangs the gong. And then he says after a moment, but we won't give it a name. Because the minute you give that gong sound a name, it stops being what it is. And
yeah,
we can
you put
take
a box
that,
around it.
You put a box around it. And we can take that to the umpteenth degree internally and realize that our entire experience is a process of the mind in which the mind is not creating the experience. It is a searchlight which is focusing on something. So the mind, I'm not describing the brain. I have a distinction between the mind and the brain. The brain is a process that's going on in your head. The mind is actually focused on this process. The mind is actually your soul. It's part of your soul. It's the all-seeing eye, if you will. When you have the eye of providence, that's your mind. And it directs the gaze of your consciousness onto a very small little pinhole of what really is. And it does so in a way that goes through this filter of biology so that the world you see is unavoidably limited to what this body can ascertain. So when you look at the world, what the brain does is it takes all of this sensory input and then it turns it into a pattern, and somehow, somewhere, some way, that pattern becomes a lighter for you, or a fire for you, or a giant tea bowl cup, or this cube of shungite, or whatever it is. It becomes that for you. Now, here's a good way to think of it again. When you think about the computer or the phone or whatever it is that you're watching me on, buried inside that little device, or that big one, if you got a tower like I do, of course I got a tower, you know, buried inside that device, everything that you're seeing on your screen right now is happening in a space that's like smaller than a grain of sand. Like all of that is happening there, and it's happening in a way that if you could see it, if you could magnify, if you could take a magnifying glass into the heart of your computer's process and see it playing out wherever it's really happening. It's spread out, of course, over a computer, but let's say you could zoom in and really comprehend all of the signals that are flying around and the ones and zeros that are being flipped and all the computations going on. It would be completely indecipherable to you, even if you could see that far. So what has to happen? All of that has to get processed by something and then sent to you through a screen and a microphone and a speaker and a keyboard. You need an interface. You need an interface system that will take that really finite, really fine detail that is completely beyond your conscious ability to understand and turn that into a signal that you can process. Because your brain is so, it's actually really powerful, but it's so limited by the senses we have and by its own processes, the way it works. Think of it like this. Anybody who knows anything about emulation for your computer knows that, like, let's say you want to emulate your old Nintendo on your modern computer. Because of the way emulation works, it actually requires a very strong computer compared to the one that played the old Nintendo. So the old Nintendo was this way, like a little small little box. Well, your computer has to emulate everything the box did, like virtually speaking. So your brain is like that. It emulates these very simple things into these bigger pictures. Now, here's the thing. Really think about this. Really walk back your awareness and ask yourself, where the fuck does this lighter exist? This lighter doesn't exist out here. The inspiration for it exists in reality, yes. See, this is the Advaitin teaching of Maya. It's not that there isn't a phenomenon. There is a phenomenon, 100% undeniably so. That's not in dispute. This is why I tell you, step out of the way of an oncoming car, please, even if you don't think it's real. Because whatever that is going to go, and you're going to have an experience, consequence speaking. But your experience is something that like, do you think that there's a little man in your brain watching a TV screen? And then if so, where in his little brain is the man with the TV screen and so on? How many layers back before you get to the actual, why does this look like this at all?
When you crack enough coconuts, there's nothing but Keebler elves at the very end waiting for you. Thank you, who posted that? Lorraine Francom. I probably butchered that pronunciation, but thank you for that.
So, here's another analogy for you. You're right, it is just a dream. That doesn't mean that the dreams don't matter. And here's the thing. If you really think about it honestly and sincerely with yourself, you realize that there's absolutely no difference between the dreamer and the dream themselves. The person you think you are in your dream is part of the dream. They're both a dream. The only thing that transcends all of that is there in all versions and is never different, is the awareness of these things. That's the only thing that remains. Every time you split a piece of the story off, like almost like doing things with like, cutting an object down to you get its subatomic particles. The subatomic particle of reality is consciousness. In no uncertain terms, which is basically panpsychism, but they're still too materialist for my taste. So your consciousness is chaos itself in the primordial Greek sense. Your consciousness is the chaos. It's the gap. It's the abyss, which is what chaos means. It doesn't mean disorder. We use chaos like disorder today, but it really meant gap or space or abyss. It's emptiness. And when they said emptiness, again, this is why I was yelling at you for the meaning of words before. When we say emptiness, what they meant was an emptiness of definition, an emptiness of ideation, an emptiness of recognition of pattern. It didn't mean literal emptiness where there's literal nothingness. That is an impossibility. That can't exist. How could literal nothingness exist? It doesn't.
Yeah, for for it to exist, you could not. Like, you could not be there to perceive it.
Right. I mean, there would be no knowledge of it, for one thing. Right? Nothingness can't exist because it's nothing. There is literally no ontological way to know nothingness at all. It can't exist. So the gap, the abyss, the emptiness that chaos is not like a vacuum, a perfect vacuum with zero, not even space in it. Because that would be true nothingness. Like, even space is something. So that's not what they're talking about. Chaos is not disorder, and it's not emptiness in that way. It is devoid, that's a better word, devoid of ideation, devoid of recognition and ideation. That doesn't mean it's not there. A good way to think of this as an analogy is with the good old-fashioned Rorschach inkblot thing I constantly bring up. What does an Rorschach inkblot look like before you recognize anything on it?
Chaos. It's just a bunch of fucking zebra stripes on paper.
Exactly. It doesn't look like anything yet. That's chaos. It's not without order. It is without recognition of anything. It's before any ideation can happen. That's the real definition of primordial chaos. That is what you are. You are primordial chaos that went, all right, what's over here? And really starts focusing. Imagine, like, I don't know if you're like me, like I got a lot of, like, you know, Irish guy dots. I got lots.
A little bit. It's more fucking woodworking wounds than anything.
So reality is kind of like this infinite consciousness, this chaos, looking at itself and looking at the dots on its arm and going, that kind of looks like Mickey Mouse. That's kind of what's going on.
And that's how we get fucking zodiac signs and astrological fucking... That looks like Gemini. That looks like a fish. That's a bunch of fucking dots, yo. Can I smoke some of that? I want to see fish. Yeah.
So your identity is your soul. In no uncertain terms, your soul can be divided in 3 parts in my way of looking at it. I know you can go a lot more depending upon, you can go 3, 6, 100 million, whatever. But to me, the personified soul has 3 parts. It's got a mind, a body, and a spirit. The mind is not the thoughts. Your thoughts are not your mind. That is not your mind. That is something the mind is looking at. The mind is more like an eyeball. That's the real nature of the eye. If you really sit down in meditation and think about what you're thinking about, you realize your thoughts aren't your mind. Your thoughts are something that appear in your mind's eye, in your mind's awareness. Your mind is the director for consciousness. It says, hey, consciousness, look over here at that candle. Look over there out the window. Look at Flesh Priest's nipples bouncing up and down when he moves around the chair. That's what my mind is doing. That's the mind. That is the first. Now, in order to have a mind, you must have a delusion of separation. You must believe, you must see yourself as separate from what you're looking at on some level. At the very least, you have to say, that's over there and this is over here. That is a kind of separation. It's all the same, but we say, yeah, but this, like, it's like saying, okay, we're all equal, but this is a little bit more equal. So this is the same as over there, but I'm still over here. You need that identity. So mind and identity are one. So the mind is your identity. That is a big piece of your identity, is your perspective on everything. That's the mind. The body is, well, it's all of this. But the body for the soul is a small little pile of it. It's a small little whatever you think that is. That's the body. And you never are without one. When I say you're disembodied, what I really mean is that you don't have a focus on a small little human body anymore. When I say you're disembodied, your body now constitutes something bigger, more expanded.
Would it be accurate to say you're expanding that box of what body is? Or you're losing focus of body?
At the very least, it's not the body that you think it is. Yeah, I mean, you could say it's losing focus. It's like softening the gaze. So for hypothetical argument's sake, what I understand spirits like Lucifer and Zeus and God or whatever to be, they are consciousness using a story as a soul, if you will. And that story is within all of our hearts and minds right now, our brains anyway. Whenever we think of a God, that God is within us. It's just a fact. The consciousness of that God is part of us when we think of it. It's unavoidable. Because you are literally becoming like one of its brain cells in that moment, if you will. So a disembodied spirit is something, basically an egregore. It's a disembodied spirit is consciousness which is not centered on the limited thing we are now. And you could probably go from disembodied just means that it's no longer focused on just this body, but now it's focused on 2 or 3 to 1 million people, or maybe even the whole planet, not just people, but the stuff. That's a tougher sell, because to me, there has to be a certain amount of, for a spirit like a God, the way I think of them, there has to be a certain amount of intelligence involved in the encapsulation of an idea. So a rock, at least as far as I know, has no gaugeable intelligence to it. So it's harder for that rock to be part of the body. But then again, I'm going to contradict myself here for a moment. What did I say earlier about cells? Cells are made out of non-living stuff. They become living when they're in a bubble that's functioning. So maybe the rocks do work. Maybe the rocks are part of it. It's possible. So I don't want to say too much either way. Like that's more open. The final part is the spirit. And the spirit is a little bit tougher to understand from the outside. But the spirit would be equivalent to what Plato was talking about with forms. So if you're not familiar, Plato had a theory, called the theory of forms. And I'm just checking. Somebody sent me a PM for a second and I can't seem to make it pop up. So
that was me in Skype. Mea culpa.
What the heck? I can't. Oh, there it is. There's the button. Okay, so that's not happening. Okay, that's fine. That just means I get to rant more, I guess. So, spirit is, in my book of magic, is the forms. And forms are all of the possible patterns that exist in the system. But they are, whether they're identified or not, they're there. So in Plato's theory of forms, the idea was that the idea of a sphere or a cube, let's take a cube because I got one right here. The idea of a cube is immortal. It is separate in the sense that it's not separate like when I say separate, it is its own encapsulation, maybe. So when you have a cube, that's an idea, that's a form. It is independent of the substance that it overlays. So this thing is not actually a cube. It looks like a cube. It reminds you of a cube, but a cube is an ultimate idea that exists in an infinite timeless dimension. In other words, there is no materialness to cubeness. Cube is an idea. I mean, how else can I say it? It's a concept. And when you hold this in your hand, you call this a cube because it looks like one. It has the attributes that are cube-like. But the perfect definition of a cube would never satisfy any material object, because no material object can properly satisfy the perfect definition of a cube. And I can prove that instantly. What is a cube, Fleshy? Just the best of your geometric knowledge. Please define a cube. Someone define a cube for me.
It is, fucking put me on the spot and suddenly clean definition leaves me. It's a cube in 3-dimensional space. Is a form that is of equal sides on all lengths. Or something.
Something. So a bunch of right angles, okay, with 6 sides and blah, 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 blah. Okay. That definition does not fit this thing at all. Not at all, because if you break this thing down to what it actually is, It's a bunch of atoms and molecules, right? None of them are cubes. They fill a space that looks cube-like, so you call it a cube. You can break those fuckers down even further. They're not even atoms or molecules. They are packets of information and energy. Eddie and I were just talking about this the other day privately because he's a giant nerd like me. And we were trying to get to the root of something. Because, yeah, he's a gigantic fucking nerd. I mean, he might even be a bigger nerd than me, dude. He might even be, just a little bit. So I asked him because I had heard this idea, and I was postulating it a little bit, that matter is basically, for lack of a better term, might as well be thought of as like hard light. Like imagine gamma radiation, which is literally light waves that have been so excited that their frequency, their wavelength is super short, right? So they're holding it. So with light, amplitude's like a way to measure it, but really that frequency is really a big deal. So the tighter the frequency, the more energy's in it. And if you keep pumping energy into gamma rays, what eventually happens? Well, my theory is, and what I heard somewhere else, is that it becomes a solid thing. It becomes not solid, but it becomes the first fundamental particles of matter. I don't know what those are, potentially. It might be quarks, gluons, whatever. But at some point, it becomes baryonic matter instead of light. So the thing I'm getting at here is that when you break down this seemingly object into what it really is, it is a field. What is a field? The ether, the quantum field, the quantum dimension, whatever you want to call, whatever you think that substance is. I'm kind of partial to ether or quantum, the quantum field, but the quantum field is basically the ether. They just give it a mathematical sounding name. It's basically the same idea. So it's a field. And so what is this thing? Well, it's a field or a bunch of, it's really one field, but it can oscillate in multiple directions at once. Like, don't get me started. Like, people think of a field as like a flat line that wiggles. No, it's a sine wave, and that fucker spirals. It spirals throughout possibly 11 dimensions if you like string theory. So that field can vibrate in possibly 10, 11, 12, 21 dimensions. We don't know. It can vibrate in all these different directions, and depending upon the direction it vibrates, you get a different kind of particle. And those vibrations, the peaks and valleys, the peaks and valleys represent, if you get enough of them overlapping, so think of like drop 2 rocks in a pond and you get overlapping fields of waves. Where they overlap, you've got a particle. Okay? So this is made up out of what would be waves in the ether, the quantum field. It's not a fucking cube. There is no such thing in the material world as a cube. It doesn't exist. And you can argue with anybody you want about this all day long. The fundamental nature of a cube is completely idealized. It's completely in your mind. It doesn't exist in the material world at all. There is no absolute cube. It doesn't exist. That's not just because there's nothing perfect enough. It's that there's literally nothing in nature that is remotely like a cube. So a cube is an idea, and what you do is you take this vibrating bullshit and you say, just like a Rorschach inkblot is exactly the same idea, except the Rorschach inkblot's a simplistic 2D representation of the bigger picture of what's going on. So you look at this big thing, and you see that's wiggling that way, that's fire, that's wiggling that way, that's a candle, and that's what you're doing. But a candle, there is no objective thing called a candle. It does not exist, except in that form way. So that is the part of your soul which is encapsulated with ideas. So the spirit is all about ideas. Matter is all about substance, the field. Mind is all about identifying all of that by way of attention. That's the mind. Put it all together, you have a being. Like me, like you, like Zeus, like the dog. Something that has a ability to have a self-conception. This is why a lot of the people from past ages had a hard time saying things like cells had souls, because a soul presumably lacks the ability to have this kind of attention. But I would argue that it does. It's just really, 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 really basic. So I don't really have a problem with saying a cell has a soul. It's just its soul is really, really limited.
It's hard for us to focus in on from our perspective.
Yeah, that's a way to put it. Yeah.
I want to point out Behemoth X popped in. He said, "My brain is starting to hurt."
Make that brain hurt, brother. That's where it belongs. That's where the magic is, man. It's you got to hurt your brain so much that your butt just feels like. I'm just gonna shut up before Eddie gets excited.
On that, I'm gonna cut you off and say we got a super chat from.
Oh, do we?
Yeah, from Patchwork. He says, "Hey, brothers, it's been a minute."
Oh, Patchy.
Yeah,
it has been a minute, Patchwork. Missed you, dude. Yeah, really. Especially this time of year, because I always think of everything Lovecraft and Necronomicon and all of that shit. This time of year really hits me good. So. Good to see you, man. Good to see you here. Thank you so much for that support. Thank you so much for your generosity. I really appreciate it, brother. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
go ahead.
So this whole thing about the soul, it's got bigger implications. When your mind is focused on your body, when I say your body, I mean the body, the material. When it's focused on that, your universe, as you understand it, is more materialistic in nature. So you look at this object and don't realize that you're looking at the astral and the material overlaid each other right now. So you're taking the idea of lighter and, like, you know, using it as a desktop icon for what this represents energetically, spiritually, whatever, in its true nature, its true essence. You're encapsulating its true essence with the idea of a lighter and using it as that. But it's really not that. This is not a lighter. The lighters don't exist. They're not.
I kind of like that. I know you hate the fucking computer analogies and everything, but I like the idea that the lighter itself is just the thumbnail on your desktop. It is not actually the binary code underneath of what truly defines said lighter.
Exactly right. So like when you look at your desktop and you see a folder, is there literally a folder in your computer that's made out of vanilla paper sitting? No, of course not. No one thinks that. When you take a folder and put it in your recycling bin, is that literally going in a garbage can on your computer? No, it's not even deleting it. It's just telling the computer, hey, you can use that space again. It's not even doing that. It's literally saying, hey, there's a bunch of hard, Eddie, help me out here. There's a storage medium in which there's some ones and zeros that you can overwrite. That's literally all it's doing. So, but your experience of it turns into video games and shit. Like if you play a video game, all that really is just a calculator going haywire, figuring out billions of computations per second, and handing you this printout that comes to you instead of as ones and zeros, as flick this light on and off this many times in this pattern and blah, 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 blah. That's all it's doing. It's just ons and offs all the way down. So this bullshit around you that you take so seriously in the material world, I'm not saying it doesn't matter. I'm just saying that that is just one way of looking at what's really going on. You can also make the mistake of going too far the other way. Going too far the other way is living in a complete astral world, which, to be very honest with you, is quite pleasant for a while. The only problem is that astral world, that is the world that happens when the mind ignores the material a little bit more and more and more and focuses more and more on the spiritual side. When I say spiritual, I don't mean I'm spiritual. No, I mean the ideation of reality. So you have idealism and materialism. And they often say that they don't mix, but they do. They mix, and that is reality. If you are focused more on the material side of reality, then that is the universe that you see, and it's very hard to shift. But the same could be said the other way. If you're embodied, if you're alive, you're at the very least, anybody that we would talk to, maybe they exist otherwise, but for the most part, if you're a living human being or an animal, your mind is focused more in the direction of material. You still see spirit. You can't help but see spirit. but you don't recognize it as such because you're just so focused on the stuff.
Yeah, there's a you got to be focused more on the material, because lions don't jump out at you from the astral, at least not as much.
Yes, they do. That's the thing. Like we have the, like right now you did that one thing that is also, that's a form of separation, to think the astral and the material are totally separate like that. Because in your experience, if you imagine a lion eating you, it doesn't really matter, right? Of course not. But there is a version of that that will destroy you. It happens to us all the time. We just don't think of it when it's happening because we think it's real. We think it's material. We think it matters. What I mean by that is, let's say there's something that is completely immaterial for a moment. Let's say you break up with somebody. That shit fucking hurts. But none of that is real. That's just a feeling you have because you feel a connection to that person. You feel like they belong to you, or you belong to them, or you put so much energy in whatever your reasoning is. It hurts you and can kill you, literally. But there's nothing physical there to kill you at all. It just does. It leads to your death. Whether it's because you jump off a cliff, or because your body just says, I can't take the strain and has a heart attack. But one could argue the same thing for a lion eating you. It's not the lion that's killing you, it's your body shutting down because it's tired of getting punctured.
So that's what all the country songs mean when they say die of a broken heart.
Yes, quite literally. Yeah. And you can die of loneliness, die of a broken heart. It doesn't have to be a knife in your chest. So that was an astral death. Your astral, your spirit, you were so busy focused on this material that you didn't protect yourself spiritually. The idea killed you. Now, they're not separated at all. They're actually perfectly balanced over each other. They're literally the same thing, because the ideas are inspired by the substance, and the substance is conformed to, in our mind, the ideas. They are opposite sides of the same coin. They're literally not separated. They are the same thing, just seen from two different angles in a hyperdimensional way. So you've gone to the zoo. Do the lions kill you in the zoo? No. When you have an imaginary experience of a lion, can they kill you? No. Exactly the same thought. It's exactly the same reason. But what is death to an astral being? It doesn't exist in the same way. Our idea of death is an idea, yes, which means it's like an eternal thing. It does exist in an idea, but it's based on a false premise. Our idea of death is based on the idea that we're this and not something, not this. So when this stops working, we go, I'm dead. And when that happens, if you're really aware of your true nature, after that maybe initial shock, if you even have one, I have a feeling there's some people that are just so ready to go. They're just like, hey, it's like jumping into a pool or something. Spoosh, okay, I'm done now. And there's no trauma at all. But for some people, most people, all people, just about, there is still this delusion of mortality. So when it's ripped from you, and you see that it's not materially real, it's just an idea, and it's not what you are. You can be encapsulated by anything. You don't necessarily really die. You just keep going. Now, what that is like is a different story. So a disembodied being, one that isn't really tied to the physical side very much in its awareness, its experience is going to be something that is potentially unknowable to us, or potentially knowable. It's hard to say. One could argue that it's like going to sleep at night and having a dream, but I would argue that what you see in your dreams is an activity of the brain, but the activity of the brain is the material side of a spiritual happening. So we're getting kind of like, self-contradictory a little bit, but they're kind of the same thing. But when you fully detach from that brain every night, because you do, nobody remembers all 8 hours if they're lucky to get 8 hours. Nobody remembers all 8 hours of their sleep. They remember a few minutes of dreaming if they're lucky, And everything else is a big emptiness, and they don't see emptiness. They just have, I was awake, then I was asleep, and then I'm awake. And the asleep is that dream part. I was asleep, or I was awake, laying down. Next thing I know, I'm dreaming. Next thing I know, I'm awake. And I do have a feeling of a passage of time, but I don't have any memory of it. Your brain was going haywire through that period, but you have no memory of it because it wasn't committed to memory. So what did you experience? Well, I think that there's a period of time in that sleep where your consciousness just doesn't care what your brain is doing. And it's off being pure consciousness again. It literally, so the world is still there, but it literally just says, I'm done with this for a little while. I'm going to just be nothing for a while. And that could be an infinity of years. That could be an eternity, because time is meaningless in the true nature of what you are. And I just got another bazooka.
Just me again.
Okay. So time is meaningless. I saw it. So time is meaningless because I won't even get into that. That's like a, let's get another card. Hopefully I'm not leaving you guys on a cliffhanger. I've talked about time before.
Well, we have, for everybody who feels like their brain hurts, we're gonna get into a different one right now. Maybe a nice little palate cleanser. CJ Anger asks, DH, what doth life?
Could you use that in a sentence, please?
Clearly you haven't watched the glory that is Xavier Renegade Angel.
Yeah, no.
For anybody who hasn't watched it, Flesh Priest recommended. It is like Rick and Morty, but for people of culture.
Ooh.
Ooh, I win.
What you saying, motherfucker?
Hey, Rick and Morty is pretty entertaining too, but Xavier Renegade Angel hits different. Hits all the same notes in a different way.
You'll have to link me so I know. Challenge accepted.
Yeah,
I need to know if it's better or not.
I might just have to subject everybody to it at some point, but I appreciate the reference.
Is this going to be some postmodern millennial bullshit that I'm going to be like, oh man? That's a yes. That's totally a yes. That's some West Coast yes right there, everybody.
It's So the next question is from InV1B. I'm not even sure how to approach pronouncing that, other than just sounding out every syllable. How do you stop spirits throwing stuff and breaking and making a mess?
Oof. I wouldn't. I'd be like, do it. I want to see more. Yeah, I don't have an answer for that. Mainly because to me that when it happens, I'm like, that's cool. I want to see more. Like, that doesn't scare me at all, or it doesn't bother me much either. I would start by not being superstitious about it. Recognize that there's nothing wrong with it. It is what is meant to be. It is your consciousness aware of it, blah, 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 all those little happy-go-lucky fun factory shits. But honestly, there's really nothing I can say about it. I love those moments. I never tell them to stop. I've never felt unsafe from a poltergeist. I've never felt in danger from this stuff. And I'm not saying it couldn't be dangerous. It's just, I've never been in a situation where I'm like, please stop breaking. Because generally the spirits don't do that to me. If stuff breaks, it's usually to get my attention, and I usually just say, okay. One of the things that I will say does help, like let's say we're talking like about like a ghost style poltergeist. Acknowledgement and treating it with respect rather than trying to stop it is usually a good way to start. Treat it like it's a member of the family. Be nice to it. A lot of the times if it is anything remotely superstitious about it is true, you could argue that it is the egregoric remnant of someone that is losing their identity, and all that's left is that pent up energy of, I know I'm something, I know I'm somebody has to know I'm here, and something happens to bring your attention to it. Well, if you start giving it that attention again, it's like the ancient Sumerians. They believed that when someone died, if there was no one left to care for them, like you killed all their children and stuff, or they died, nameless, homeless, with nobody to love them. If no one was there to care for them in the afterlife, which means give them offerings and libations every once in a while, then they would be truly in the worst kind of afterlife, because all they have to eat in the underworld of the Sumerian tradition is dust. And so this would make them angry. And so the Sumerian culture was obsessed with placating dead spirits. There was people, it was a profession to go around as a ghostbuster, quite literally. Someone would call you because like too much of their stuff would fall over, you know, like off the kitchen counter. They're like, oh, it's a ghost. And so they would come and they'd make all the offerings to whatever spirits it might be and placate them all and basically bribe them away. And you know, there's a lot of cultures that still do that. You have the Chinese.
I was about to bring that up.
And all these, yeah, like we have to give them money, like the fake money. You have to burn it for them, all that stuff. Yeah.
Well, that and you know, this is not the culture I'm from, so this may just be somebody pulling the leg of a dirty fucking guaylo. But from what I understand, there's a cultural understanding in China traditionally that the more people that are there for your funeral acts kind of like a contact on your resume of like, I vouch for this guy. And so one thing people have started doing is hiring strippers and shit to show up at funerals, because that will get everybody to stop and hang out for a little while. So you got a big crowd of people.
The irony is the attachment to this world is what makes it so hard to leave, and that builds more attachment. So in the Zen sense, you want as few people at your funeral as possible. You want a lot of people to not know who you are. You want to die nameless in a way of speaking, in a way. That's not entirely true. They wouldn't say that, but I would. Because if you truly want to be forgotten and let go and have no attachment to this reality, well, I'm not saying you won't be able to do that. I'm just saying if you let go enough, you can still probably do it. But if you have a whole bunch of people remembering you, that's kind of like making it hard to move on, right? Because they're all thinking about you.
Yeah.
Just an idea. So Asariel Krabat is here. What's going on, dude? We want to get you on one of these days. It's been a little minute since we had a conversation. If you feel like calling in, we're going to open the phones in a minute. We have one guy who's already ready to come on, I believe. And they just super chatted us, so we want to bring them on in a little bit. But we're going to open the phone lines in a minute. If you've got Skype, Mr. Krabat, feel free to join us using the Skype address that Fleshy will make available soon.
I think they said that they're still in the office right now, but are you good for 5 minutes? Because I need to take a step away to the bathroom.
I don't know, man. I've already ranted out my ass for like an hour and a half. I don't know.
Well, I'm about to hit you with a new question that I think
maybe
will
that'll
inspire it. But really quick before that, we have another super chat from Patchwork who said, "Can confirm what Thorn is saying with the Sumerian afterlife/haunting."
Yep.
And
thank you, Flesh. Thank you, Patchy.
Yeah, thank you, dude. And Mac Bennett asked, "Do either of you think that some people create, in quotes, alter egos as a means of dealing with magic-based experiences?"
Oh, sure. I mean, one could argue that D.H. Thorne is my magical archetype character. I mean, you know, one of the worst things about doing this is when you become the character for too long. You know, one of the things I've got to be careful of is I created this character D.H. Thorne to be exactly what I would want him to be. And in so doing, you know, at first it was a really powerful shield. It's like anything that attacks D.H. Thorne is attacking a story. It's not attacking who I personally identify with. But then over time, as I play this character more and more and more, the line between D.H. Thorne and who I really was is eroded until I realize, well, that person I used to be is no longer here anymore the same way they were. They've kind of died and D.H. Thorne's kind of taken over. But yes, I would argue that people do that. I think a good magician is able to step into different characters. That's a big piece of what I do. A good magician realizes that when they're channeling a spirit, it's just a really elevated form of method acting, really. That doesn't mean that there's not really a spirit involved. It just means that you are literally being like a method actor in the moment. You are becoming that spirit. And a big part of that is doing it like a method actor would, you know, really getting the feel for the character and getting to the point where you feel empathically, sympathetically what the character would feel in that moment. So to do that, you've got to kind of create that character. Now, a good magician has their everyday character persona, and then they've got their magical persona. They have their, what is it in, I forget which system it is, but they have their day side, their night side self. And your night side self is the one that does the rituals, because you want to keep things compartmentalized a little bit in magic, because you're trying to go through your conscious filter to your subconscious. And if you're constantly thinking about things like I did that, then it starts to fuck up. So one of the errors that I have made, and one of the things that I'm going to have to work on in the future, is literally disconnecting D.H. Thorne from my magical ritual and keep D.H. Thorne just a character for YouTube. Because I'm finding that now when I invoke ritual, when I invoke D.H. Thorne in ritual, I don't feel as powerful as I did before. I feel like I'm just that guy on TV, right? It's become the wrong kind of mask because I'm living in it too much. And I've got to be careful of that, because if something attacks that mask, I'll feel it more now. So it's really important for anybody doing this. This is one of the reasons why being an open occultist with a character and a persona has drawbacks on your practice. It really does. When I'm doing magic, I end up in a state of namelessness. I might start it by going, D.H. Thorne does this, and really, like, you know, dramatic and cool. But by the end of it, it's like there is no D.H. Thorne. It's just my awareness talking, right? Or aware of talking. And it's difficult to explain to someone who doesn't know that feeling. But at some point, the whole idea of identity just goes away, and you're just acting. You're just doing things. You're just an avatar for consciousness as it goes through these motions. And to me, that's where I'd rather be. When I feel really identified in this character, that's when I feel attached to the outcomes. And I find it harder to manifest things. So, all right, Flush, I'll tell the whole thing over again.
Well, no, I want you to finish your thought, but I caught a little bit of that, and I had a practical question to ask as an extension of that.
Okay.
I'll just go. Somebody was asking me recently, they're looking to get into the public sphere of offering services and whatnot, and they were asking me about the benefits of using their government name versus a
Don't do it.
alter. Well, there we go. That's what I was getting at. Real name versus
because
alter
if you become remotely well known, you will eventually have assholes that want to dox you, who want to give you a hard time. The left-hand path community is currently dealing with such an asshole that has taken it upon themselves to carry out like this crusade against anyone associated with Become a Living God. Now, I am not directly associated with that. I am friendly with EA. We've talked more in the past. We haven't talked as much lately, but we're still friends. I am friendly with all of those people because they have been nothing but noble and professional with me. Mm-hmm. Whether I agree with all of their practices or not is irrelevant. They have treated me as a friend. So this person has, in a tertiary way, taken a swipe at me. Now, I don't care. To me, they're a nobody. They don't really matter. I've spoken my piece on. Hopefully, they just leave me alone. But I am definitely aligned against them because their whole goal
has been as it never was.
Yeah, their whole goal is really to destroy anything associated with that community, and they do lies. And in a way, if they weren't so blatantly transparent about it, I'd give them some props for the way that they're trying. But they're so narcissistic and nihilistic about it. They're so transparent to anybody who's aware. It's kind of backfiring really bad, except for the people who really fall for that stuff. But anyway, if you get into this field, I have tried my best, and I could probably do a better job. I could do, like Behemoth X, I don't know, he doesn't get involved in any drama. Like he's got me beat on this. But that's because he's just solo all the way, and he just supports people, and he doesn't get seen with people very much, and he's like his own show, which is really the right way to go. But he's also very careful not to use his real information too widely either. Not that he probably hasn't, but it's a little harder. Now me, you'll never know my full real name. And if you do, it's because someone figured out how to hack something. I'm never going to slip and be like, oh, here's my full name. Never going to happen. You're never going to know more than the rough geographic area that I'm in. You're never going to know enough, hopefully, that you ever find out who I really am. And the only ones who need to know who I am are my payment processors. Now, someone might say, well, Thorn, you asked for, and this is a fair, this is why I'm bringing it up. Someone might say, well, Thorn, your client will sometimes be asked for their full name, birthday, and a mugshot, basically. That's enough to fuck somebody if you really wanted to. Yeah, to a degree, yes. So why don't you do the same for them? Simply because it would be way too easy for someone to come to me with $100 or whatever it costs for my time, plunk that down, get my real deets, and then fuck me with it somehow. I mean, look at what J.S. Garrett and co. are going through with getting mailers and stuff sent to them by this individual. This isn't a joke. People will try to fuck with you if you get even a little recognition. People are shit. It's going to be honest. By and large,
tell us how
like,
you really feel.
People are shit, and every once in a while an M&M falls in it, and you try to get the M&Ms out while you can. Okay? And honestly, when an M&M falls in a piece of shit, you try not to eat it anyway. But that's why I have my Discord group, because I feel like the general greater public is total trash. And I'm very careful about that community to make sure that everyone feels welcome, that everyone has a voice whenever possible. And we keep it fairly friendly in there. That to me is, that's like my, what's that, Fleshy?
Do you smell that? That smells like a plug.
Like smoke?
Oh, hey.
Oh, it does sound like a,
at that.
oh, you mean a, oh, okay.
Huh. Where'd that come
Yeah,
from?
let's plug that Discord thing. If you guys like our bullshit and want to have a little bit easier way of getting a hold of me, you can do it on Discord. I don't respond to everything. Like I look at stuff and I go, that's just not for me to respond to today. I mean, you don't get my energy just because you say my name, you know what I mean? But I see everything. Like, I don't miss much. Like, I skim, like, Mysterious J-Goth is like, you know, hi, what's up? Did you see my art? I'm like, yeah, I saw your art. It's pretty good. I liked it, actually. I really liked the Ankh and the Crow. That was actually really good. But I'm not necessarily going to respond to everything. And that is because I have learned a long time ago to keep my energy, meaning my attention, directed only where I want it to go. And I still fuck up. And I still look at shit that I don't want to look at. And I still let people have my time that shouldn't have it. So I am very guarded about that, because it's really easy. Like, I'll get people just with stuff that just hurts my heart to talk about. I don't mean because it's like, you know, I'm full of sympathy for them. I mean, it's just like, I don't want to talk about this. It's just not what I'm into right now. And I hate to be so, what's the word? What would you call that, Fleshy? That's kind of shitty of me, but what would you call it?
Detached?
Self-centered, detached, self-centered, really. I hate to be so self-centered about it, but you don't own me, even though, like, some people are very generous. You don't own me any more than I own you. So just saying my name doesn't get me to appear. But I spent a long time kind of turning people. Yeah, I just spent a lot of time kind of turning people off to using the Discord. But if you look at the Discord server, I'm quite active there, and I do respond, and we do have fun conversations, and it's a good place to go. But the general world sucks. So I've been trying to create, at least in the virtual space, a place where I can go that's like my sanctuary, my safe space, where people are mostly cool. They're interested in the right things, that we're not going to be just talking about football or something.
You know, sorry, total non sequitur. We haven't talked about what we're going to do tomorrow, but I don't know if you guys are down, but I kind of want to watch a movie. I might just pull an impromptu movie night. Fucking horror movie.
I'd like to. I just don't know what night to do it. I got to feel things out. I wouldn't mind this week, but I'm thinking maybe next. Let's see what how things roll out tonight or tomorrow, because I'm behind on my writing, but I'm kind of burnt out on my writing right now. There's a chapter that I just keep trying to write and rewrite, and I just don't like it. and I don't want to remove it because I think it's important, but I might just remove it. And it's one of those toxic things where it's like, if it's toxic, just don't do it. But it's like I see it in my head what it should do, and it's like, here's the thing. I'm trying to write this current book in a way that is not like a physics textbook or something like that. I want it to be something that people can pick up and use in a mystical way, and apply it, and not have to go out and pick up a science book to understand.
Yeah.
And me, I like bringing up scientific ideas because it helps rationalize things. But so it's difficult. I'm trying to be more like, what I wrote down on not a post-it, but like a little card. Poetry, not I didn't write it down as this. I said no, I wrote down poetry, not pedantry. That's what it was. Poetry, not pedantry. I lost it. I don't have it. Poetry, not pedantry.
I was gonna say that feels like a fucking Alex Jones on Joe Rogan moment of like, I wrote it down. Okay, I didn't actually write it down, but
all right, I'm not gonna
I thought
lie.
about
I
it really hard.
I really did. I really thought about writing it down, but I was saying it to myself over and over. Poetry, not pedantry. Poetry, not, you got me. You got me. You got me.
I'm not laughing at the fact that that's what you did. I'm just laughing at the fact that
But
that
it
was
is what
comedic.
I did.
I love it.
But it is what I did. I totally did that.
Eddie Romanov, thank you. He pointed out that tomorrow is Friday the 13th, and also we have a super chat from Max Avery. Has oh, bad timing. Says happy Thursday, gents. And that guy, I swear, the more I learn about him, the more I am convinced he is a bona fide fucking cryptid.
I got to get with this guy. He's like all connected with people and things. I don't know if he wants me to say, but he's making certain strides in his state.
Yeah.
I don't know I don't know if he told you personally, but he told me personally.
Yeah, I'm aware of it. I'm the same way. I don't know if he wants that broadcasted, so I'll keep it occulted. But
yeah, he says it's pretty cool to be. He doesn't mind being associated with us, but it's like I could see how that could come to haunt him. So I want to be really careful about that. And like it's all up to him because I support what he's trying to do, and I wish him all the success possible. So yeah, thank you, Max. I appreciate you, brother. And whatever. I hope I'm not blowing up. Get the spotlight on Max, everybody. Everybody know what he's doing here. Everyone's gonna be messaging him. What are you doing? What is this thing you're doing?
He says just a general maniac. I think that
just a general maniac.
Cryptid thing.
Yeah,
you're the good kind of maniac. We appreciate your kind here.
We should have him back on the show. It's been a while.
Oh fuck yeah!
I don't know though. Does he want to be seen with the likes of us with the upside down pentagrams and all this other stuff? Maybe he does. Maybe that would scare the shit out of some people.
So
all right.
I want to get to our caller here in just a minute, but I want to point out something. So our would-be guest this week, not able to make it on camera or anything, but he did send me a little doobly-doo. He said he's submitting a question/comment for the stream. I'm going to surmise it because it's a little bit long to read out the full thing on here, but I think this would actually be great material for when he comes on. Maybe it's a little.
Let's just save it for him then. Like when he stops being on fire.
I'm just gonna give the teaser of it. So for anybody who's interested in having CM Helnikainen as a guest, tune into that if you want to hear more. He was saying that he's been working with Become the Maelstrom and even diving in even more with Shadownomicon. He's been busting out a rough draft of one of the shadows that he's encountered that's not specifically listed in the Shadownomicon. Presenting the shadow of Apathy, the Fat Man. And he sent me a PDF, which is just like, dude, respect, but also, holy shit, this is a thick PDF. I mean, as far as what I can read on stream, but yeah, he's put together a whole invocation, full fucking description and everything. So that would be something interesting to dissect with him. Sure.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, it's almost like basically Balthagor Sloth, but it's like the shadow. Yeah, and it absolutely is. I mean, you could, hell, maybe that's one of my shadows that I didn't put in the book. What I'm not aware of. No, I mean, you could,
You're currently purging the fat man, doing a damn fine job of it.
but not because I'm working hard at it. I'm just not eating as much crap as I used to. It's just I changed my diet. This is all diet, dude.
Hey, excuse me, that changing your diet, fuck, I'll go for a run and shit like that. Changing your diet is hard fucking work, so let's just
I don't know, man. You know what
one.
I changed my diet to? Someone told me you could eat all the meat you want and not get fat. I'm like, oh, okay. So, and you know what's funny is now I like the vegetables. That's the funny thing.
Yeah,
like I was having zucchini tonight. I'm like, wait, that's what fucking zucchini tastes like when you're not hopped up on sugar all the fucking time. Oh, loving that zucchini.
yeah, no, I'm more. Just
Come on, Hell Nicani, and isolate the shit out of that. Come on, you know you gotta. I gave you that one.
I'm just saying that, like, you know, getting up on the treadmill or whatnot, that's a medium-sized battle here and there, but changing your diet, that's a fucking that's a million little battles every single fucking day.
I guess. I mean, it's kind of like when I quit smoking. I quit it all in one shot. Like I didn't hem and haw, and I didn't do the whole step down with Nicorette. I just said, and I just didn't do it anymore. After 12 years of smoking 2 packs a day, I said, fuck that shit.
Yeah, that's been the only way I've ever been able to have success.
Max brings up the price of food. Don't even get me started. You know what? I saw a steak today for $8.99 a pound, and I fucking bought the whole shelf because it's been $16 a pound lately. So $17 a pound. So I'm like, fuck. And that's not even for the expensive shit. So fuck that.
That's one of the nice parts about having a primarily vegetarian diet. Just I don't have to spend the fucking money on meat because Jesus.
It does creep up in the vegetarian thing, but nowhere near as much. You're absolutely right. The thing
only if you're going for the fucking like prepared fake meat alternatives. Fucking produce is cheap as fuck. Like anybody who
like
says
even if it goes up 5 cents. So it's like who cares?
Yeah,
right?
anybody who says vegetarian is expensive, that's because you're buying the fucking fake cheeses and all the fake imitation bullshit. Fucking buy zucchini, buy fucking noodles, buy eggplant. Cheap as fuck. It's not expensive. Live life.
It's really not. And the thing about me is like, as I'm going through keto, like I'm not saying I could be a vegetarian or a vegan, but I'm saying it wouldn't be that big of a drop for me now because it's like I've learned to appreciate if I get that right umami flavor and the right stuff, I could almost see my way to at least cutting meat to a small portion every now and then instead of constant. Because like, I mean, I would get sick of all veggies all the time because I'm limited to certain veggies right now, but like, you know, having a lot of cauliflower, having some zucchini, having that kind of shit. Because there's a million ways you could do either of those. I mean, you can add your cheese. Like, I'd still be putting cheese on it, so it's not really vegan. But I could do a lot of that stuff. Like, I'm a big dairy eater now because, you know, that's got all the fats and all the shit in it. So, like, I'm eating, like, a lot of cheese. Like, I thought I was lactose intolerant. I'm glad I'm not, because if I was, this house would be like a fucking Hindenburg balloon waiting to blow up because I'd be farting like a freaking cow. So...
Okay. Yeah, don't.
I heard my wife laugh. She must just caught up with the Hindenburg comment.
Yeah, don't go vegan because if you do, let me tell you, however bad those fucking cheese farts are, the vegan farts, and I'm saying this as a former vegan, the vegan farts, I have no exaggeration, almost killed a car full of people with my fucking vegan farts. It is.
I do have a problem with
unreal.
nuts. Hell Nicanian, don't isolate that. I do have a problem with nuts, like almonds. I love almonds and stuff, but if I don't eat them enough and I have one, something in my stomach's like, oh, good, we got those bastards out of here. What the? Oh, it's like getting hit with a coconut, and my stomach just like turns into a cesspit of just pain and gas and everything, like for like until I start eating them regularly.
Why
again,
would you do this to me?
Yeah, it's like eating rocks, and my stomach's like, stop eating rocks, you asshole. Like, it doesn't know what to do with them until it's eaten a few of them.
So I'm actually slightly surprised. There's more vegetarian/vegan people in the chat than I was expecting.
I'm not really surprised though. I'm not actually surprised. A lot of it's actually quite traditional for a lot of spiritual traditions to go vegetarian for at least a while, if not forever. Me personally, I don't think I ever will. I think that there's something to that meat intake for us left-handers. but it's not a requirement. I mean, by any stretch, I would never say that. And like, I mean, I think you said you still eat fish and stuff. You'd probably eat a bug if I handed you the right one.
Yeah,
so
it's more of one of those fucking convenience things for me at this point, where like I aim for this, but I also went through too long. Like somebody was saying in the comments, like after so long being vegan, meat kind of tastes funny now. It's like I just don't prefer meat, but I won't turn down meat. It's just not what I'm aiming for. Like I don't.
Yeah, I mean, you never really struck me as a, like, what's it called, a moralistic, ideological reason so much as just, it's just not what you want. And for me, there is a little bit of empathy involved. As much as I did that video about smacking the fly, there is a part of me that looks, you know, because of that non-dual thing, and I look at my dog and I go, would I eat my dog? No. So why would I eat a rabbit or a deer or a cow? You know, it's like, yeah. So, but then again, I have to remember that on some level I'm predatory, and so I'm gonna do it anyway. So it's like I might as well do it, but try to do it in a humane way, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But
the folks who say that they're not being predatory by having a vegan diet and everything, which, like, hey, I'm not dissing any of that, obviously. I've been there and I've done that. I'm still kind of sort of doing that. Is if you truly think you're not being predatory still with it, then you're deluding yourself.
You have no idea how a farm works. You have no.
Yeah.
I grew up on farms. You have no idea what they have to do to keep those vegetables edible. You have no. Even the organic stuff, they have to go through. They have to kill so much life just to make it so you have a fucking blade of grass to eat, a fucking flake of lettuce. It's not even funny. They have the amount of people don't realize. They're like, oh well, at least it's not like cows grazing. That's so much worse. On some level, it is. Except grazeland is natural. It's left alone mostly. You know, I'm not saying it's perfect. It's just that's a field. You know, that's kept free of certain predators so cows can graze. I'm not saying it's great. I'm not saying it's more ecological. I'm just saying don't think that those farms that you see as far as the eye can fucking see with the fucking mechanical arms swinging around spraying pesticides, even the ones that aren't doing that, don't you think for a minute that those fuckers aren't doing as much or more damage to the ecosystem than just letting some cows graze? Yes, the cows are bad because there's so many. I'm not denying that. It's just don't think you're not fucking wrecking shit by doing that. Please don't.
Even purely right down to the moment of harvest, if everything else was
Mac Bennett. I gotta interrupt Mac Bennett. He said plants can't run. That almost did me. That almost did me. I thank you, Mac Bennett. That was almost you almost got me to laugh. Go ahead, Fleshy. Keep what you're saying.
Even if, like, somehow in a perfect system, if, you know, no life, no animal life was harmed, bringing up those plants at the moment of harvest, you can't tell me the fucking worms and the bugs and all that aren't being impacted. Like, life fucking feeds on life. It's just what life you choose to feed upon.
Exactly. You get used to it. The thing is, it is about balance, though.
Predatory on some level.
It is about balance of that system, because there's no question about it, but entropy is entropy and we can't avoid that. But, you know, here's where I agree with the bad guys. There are too many people. I don't care. If we don't figure a way off this planet, there's just too many people. I'm sorry. It just is.
We need another plague.
Shh, don't say it again, because Susan Wojcicki is going to show up and kick all our asses.
A better one.
As much as I don't like it, because I'm not for it, but I'm finding I can't be against it that much anymore, because it's like, you had a nice planet and you fucked it up. So whatever. It's not even about the alarmism of climate and all this stuff. To me, it's just, look, I'm a hunter. I've been a hunter. I don't really hunt that much anymore, but I've done that. And you get beaten into your head over and over and over again that if there's too many deer, they become diseased and destroy the forest. And it's only a few steps from realizing that the human beings are a transplant species. And part of how we transplanted ourselves wasn't just geographically, but it was also technologically. So we are not just at the top of the food chain. There's plenty of things at the top of the food chain that don't destroy the food chain. We are like a moth that has been taken out of its environment where it doesn't have any natural predators anymore, and it just outgrows the environment forever. It's a virus. It's literally a virus, like in the Matrix. Humanity's become a virus. And until humanity finds a way to humanely and ethically figure its own shit out, maybe the only humane answer is what we would do to deer in that situation. You'd put out more hunting permits. That's what you do. And I'm not saying we do that, by the way. I'm not, what is that, an O9A thing. It's what they do. It's what conservationists do. They say there's too many deer. Well, issue more hunting permits. Let the hunters have them, because we got rid of the wolves. Might as well let's balance it that way. Well, that's what they're kind of do to you guys, by the way. That's anybody who doesn't realize that, somehow it's coming, whether it's going to be humane and wonderful or not. Maybe it'll be sweet. Maybe it'll just be everyone realizes, hey, let's only have one kid for a while. Hey, maybe that'll work. I don't know. Don't see it happening that way, though.
Oh boy.
I just don't.
Oh boy, we've slipped into that part of the stream.
Slipping back out. Someone asked me about my weight. Yes, yep. I lost 87 pounds.
I'm going to bring in a special guest.
Well, he's going to agree with me. I know he is. You're going to be outnumbered again. You have to bring like somebody else on that doesn't. But no, I lost 87 pounds. It fluctuates. Like some days it's 82, some days it's 88. But yeah, 87 pounds right now. I'm working on the last 20 or 30. So that's going to be a harder work, though, because you reach a point where your body's like, no, we're good. I'm fat, but it's not that bad.
And everybody, please welcome. Oh, nope, they're not here yet. Never mind.
Oh, fuck them then.
Don't welcome him yet. Okay, now
fuck
he's here.
Him.
Everybody, please.
Okay, fucking hi.
We have on the line the great and powerful Patchwork.
Hey, what's up?
Pop up.
Oh, I'm not ready for the camera yet.
No cameras? I won't do cameras then. We'll just use your voice.
Yeah, just give me a moment. I'll pop up on camera.
Fleshy, that's not Nina the Mystic, you liar.
No, I know. I popped it open and I'm changing it right now.
Oh, wow. That's how you type?
What the fuck?
Fuck all y'all.
This is what we call technology.
Okay, so I know Patchwork is still getting set up, so I don't know if he wants to jump in on this question, but I will ask you, DH. We have a question here from Go Away Skype from Timothy Foster.
Really, that's a cool character.
Timothy Foster says, why is it that identity forms out of this formlessness? Why does chaos seek to move into form?
Okay, so
we had enough of the fucking around fucking dietary talk and all that bullshit. Now we're getting into the serious again.
All right. The why is, it's sort of inevitable. To know your immortality, you have to know mortality. To know limitlessness, you have to know limitation. To be a god that can make a rock that it can't move, you have to become inferior to that rock for a while. To be all-powerful, you must become powerless. It is an inevitable consequence of what you are. One could say that it is a kind of limitation of infinity to be less than infinity at the same time. To have within it finite. If there was a limitation, that would be the only one it would have. But the thing about this infinite consciousness is it transcends all these limitations, because it can be both limitless and limited at the same time. So why are you limited right now? Well, it's kind of like when someone asks me why do bad things happen to good people. It's like that moralistic question. Why if we are all one, why do we have bad days? Well, if you didn't have a bad day, you wouldn't know what a good day feels like.
It's like a country song, sunshine and the rain. Gotta know the
if you
rain
don't
to appreciate it.
Actually,
if you wake up every day and all of your needs are met before you're even aware of the need being there, you don't ever experience need, and so you never experience the fulfillment of needs. Same thing with wants, same things with desires. If you ate nothing but zucchini all day long, would zucchini taste the same? If you've never eaten anything else. or whatever your favorite food is.
Yeah, I can tell you from personal experience, it starts to taste like fucking shit.
So the why is really more like a why not? Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you limit yourself like this? Why wouldn't you experience identity? Why wouldn't you enjoy this? The reason you don't think you should is because it validates the ego, which is not a bad thing. Your ego's fine. I'm not saying your ego's bad. But the ego, if it is given misplaced authority or intention or attention or importance, becomes a toxic experience for itself. The ego likes to look at life like I do sometimes and go, fuck all these people, fuck this planet, fuckity fuck. That's ego. When someone says, like if someone says, Thorin, you're so egoistic because I'm talking a big game, that's not really ego. When I'm sitting here going, this fucking sucks, that's ego. That's ego. If you really want to know what ego looks like, it's not because you're proud of yourself. That's a kind of ego, that's arrogance, whatever. Real ego is the part that's pissed at everything. The part that hates everything. The part that looks down and says, you suck, I'm better than you. Or I'm sucking, I suck. Even that's ego too. People don't realize that. Humility is just ego wearing the robes of a sheep. It's still a wolf. It's still sitting there going, oh, look at how pathetic I am. It's no different. So
Give me attention, basically.
yeah, right. Exactly. And it differentiates you from what's not you. So when you sit here going, well, why in the world would an infinite consciousness want to be this? You still got work to do. Because it desperately loves being this. Desperately loves being this. Or else it wouldn't do it. And when you ask why, well, that's like that old Apple Jacks commercial. Why why do you eat Apple Jacks? You know, why do you like them? I don't know. You just do.
It makes me think of, I don't know why this is the place my brain went to, but it makes me think of like going to fucking laser tag or something like that. Of like, when you're in the...
Fun.
Oh, what were you saying, Patchy?
I said, ooh, laser tag's pretty fun. I haven't done that in a good fun.
Yeah, it's been a little while since all this fucking bullshit. It's one of the last things I went out and did right before. Anyways, it's like fucking going out and doing some laser tag it's like wondering right in the middle of all of it of why laser tag? Why this activity? Like you signed up for this right beforehand. You're in the middle of it, and you will bitch and moan when you're not winning or whatnot, but it's still a fun activity. I don't know if this makes sense to anybody else, but it connected for me. Life is laser tag.
Life is laser tag. I guess that's a bridge too far for me right now, but I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying I'm not seeing it.
Well, to transition off of that, we actually have a question. You are becoming infamous, Patchwork, because as soon as you arrived, it's like, oh, hey, you know Lovecraft. Are you ready to take a question? Well,
yes.
and actually, I'm sorry, you called in. Do you have a question for us or anything like that? I don't just want to immediately impose upon you. So what's going on with Patchy right now?
Me, not much. I actually just... Hold on. Gotta get my phone set up. I don't know if you guys could see me or if the camera's still off or not.
You just tell me if you want a visual. I'll put you up on visual. Otherwise, we will just hear your voice. Oh, I think he muted himself.
No, I'm still here.
Okay, there he is.
Okay. Violence is life. I think you're referencing Tool right there, and I hoped somebody would, so I appreciate you.
All right, I think I'm ready to actually be on camera.
Awesome.
Alrighty.
So,
by the way, you have really excellent man boobs. I appreciate. Just kidding. Am I kidding about them being excellent or about seeing them?
Hey, now we all know I have the most excellent tits on camera currently. Oof. With my sunken chest bone. I've got like a solid A cup. You can't see it because black.
Oh, you got the cleavage without even trying? Is what you're telling me?
Yeah, I mean,
I got the big old ribs, so I look like I got big honking titties, but I really don't.
Fuck it. Everybody fucking close your eyes. This stream's about to get PG-13, but yeah, fuck it. I got the fucking sunken chest bone, yo.
You
Oh
look
my
like
God,
you
I'm
fought me
fucking
back in
pale.
high school, and
What
I
the
gave you a
fuck?
caved-in chest. That's what
Oh
it
my
looks like.
God, I'm like a sheet of paper. Holy shit.
I can't even see anything.
Jesus Christ.
Man, I'm so white, I'm pink right now.
Oh my God, I'm fucking neon white.
What's going on?
I don't mind me. I'm just fucking I'm fucking alarmed.
You're making Patchy
at how
freak
much
out, man.
tanner my hands are compared to my chest.
I can't see anything. It's just a gray screen.
Uh-oh.
What's the?
I mean,
What's up?
DH is sharing his screen. I'm not sure what's up there. But so we had a question for you, Patchwork. This comes from Wyatt Coverdale. He asks, on fuck.
On Naruto.
Fuck you, Lovecraft, for your fucking unpronounceable bullshit. Gnarlyafotep. Does he usually tell you to keep what he teaches you extremely secret? He seems to do that with me, often. He wants me to keep it as silent as possible.
Depends. I mean, me personally, it's like a lot of the stuff that I typically channel from like working with various spirits, such as the one he just mentioned there. Me normally, I keep a lot of my stuff secret as well. If a spirit asks, if a spirit in particular, as you swear under oath of silence, I would probably follow through with that and not really talk about it a whole lot.
And
I mean, to be honest, not much is really, like, if you watch my last, I think it was my last video, about accuracy and channeling, or whatever it was, which didn't get a lot of views. What the fuck, guys? It was on the shorter side. You should all be watching it. If you watch that video, I point out that there's things that, if you're doing it right, that you don't share. I mean, there's things that are just for you. And it's not really, it's not necessarily that you should be broadcasting to the world everything you find out. I mean,
it's kind of like sharing your dreams with your fucking coworkers.
Yeah.
If your coworkers don't give a fuck, the dreams were really special, but just for you. Just for you.
There I was with a cowboy hat on and Fleshy walked in with the riding crop.
Barbecue sauce all over my titties.
Oh,
okay,
man.
that's actually what I would want to hear. Sorry, Patchwork.
It's like, yeah, they'd be kind of like sharing. It's like, as far as like trying to share like a dream that was significant with you with like a coworker or something, that'd be kind of like me telling people that are close to me about some of the shit that I've dreamed about. Maybe significant to me, but to them, it's just like, what are you blabbing about?
Yeah.
What does this have to do with paying the bills?
And
not everything you get is going to be relevant. I mean, to be quite honest, it's not always accurate. Like, that's the thing I tried to impress upon people, is that a skeptic is going to say, well, if your spirits are real, they're going to tell you the truth, and it's going to be verifiable. It's going to be great. And I found out a long time ago.
Seen and channeled and dreamed about is verifiable to me, anyways.
Well, the thing is, what's verifiable? Sometimes there's things that happen that are one-for-one verifiable. On Tuesday, a red ball will fall down a flight of stairs and hit you on the head, and you will do this. You'll have some very specific thing that will come to pass, and it will be wild. But a lot of the time, even the inaccuracy is a lesson. Even being told the wrong thing, it's meant to direct your attention to something for a little while, for whatever reason. And the reason could be hard to understand until after the fact, but you'll usually know.
It could be as simple as, hey, just think about it. This means nothing, but just think about it. Because
just think about it. Right.
Hell, maybe it's just a domino for later on. Maybe you had to think about this to reach the next fucking level, or whatever you care to think of it in.
So, like today, I got some news today about somebody, and I asked my pendulum, are they going to go to the hospital?
Oh.
And my intuition was already saying probably yes. Like, and pendulums work off of intuition. So I'm working with it, and I don't even get to check it when the phone rings, and it turns out they're not going to. And as I'm listening, the thing's saying yes. Well, it turns out they should have. The doctor wanted them to, but they refused. So which was right, which was wrong, right? Well, in a way, the pendulum was right. My intuition was right. They were going to. That was one probable outcome. And it made me think of it because it was getting me mentally prepared for that possibility. Right? So there's so many layers to prophecy and what spirits tell you. The problem is that for the untrained mind, it's maddening. You get hung up on the back and forth of, is it real or not? You should always sort of have this is a parlor trick in the back of your mind, even if just so that you don't lose your mind through it. It should always be like a game on some level, because if you get too serious, you get superstitious and weird and you go crazy. Like, quite honestly.
Yeah, that could be a really fucking easy trap to fall into. I know we had that. Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying, you got to be careful with divination, like trying to learn and actually become at least decent at divination. You got to be careful with that because you can drive yourself mad.
Absolutely, no doubt. In fact, I guarantee it. When the more of reality you see, the less you can relate to others, and that's basically the real definition of insanity. It's not that you don't believe the truth or something like that. It's that you don't agree with the masses. The more truth the more you honestly see sincerely, the crazier you look. So
dear God,
what's
insane?
What's that?
I said, dear God, am I insane?
Absolutely, we're all insane, dude. According to, if you walk down the street right now talking about this, yes, a lot of people are going to agree with you, but the status quo opinion is we're nuts. There's a reason why we don't get a lot of haters in our videos. You know why? Because most people who don't believe in this don't go looking for it.
Right, well, I got something. I still cannot see you guys at all, and I also have kind of a thought that I want to share. What if we're the same ones, but yet, like everyone else who isn't into this sort of stuff are the crazy ones?
I mean, what's sanity, man? Like that's where it really comes down to.
It's all fucking
what is
floating
sanity?
Targets.
Well, no, what's sanity? Let's really be smart about this. What is sanity exactly? All sanity is well, unless you go ahead, you guys say it first. Go ahead.
In my very practical definition, sanity is what the group consensus puts a box around. That's
pretty much it. It's not just what the consensus says, but it is.
Really closest to what I was about to say.
Yeah. I had a saying when I was a kid. I don't know if I lifted it from somewhere.
So now you're going outside the box and expanding upon it. We just made up the consensus right now, so you are crazy.
Yeah, you're crazy, dude. You're crazy right now. Sanity is in the mind of the majority. That's all it is. It's the collective consciousness needle of paradigm. This is why magic is a paradigm shifting tool. It is not a thing that gets you what you want. It's a thing that shifts your conscious paradigm to a reality where what you want or whatever is supposed to be or whatever. It just shifts your paradigms around. That's really what it does. On its fundamentalist purpose is to shift your paradigm so that you look at reality in a new way and you realize what your power is. And your power has nothing. Magic is not the boopity boppity. That's an Italian thing. No, magic is not the boopity boppity and the bibbity boppity boop. Yeah, that's not the magic. That is not the magic at all. That's bullshit. You can do magic without any of this. Like some people say, you can do magic purely in the astral. What they're really saying is that magic is a matter of paradigm shifting where your consciousness shifts to what you need to see.
It's mental magic.
And it's kind of like that. Yeah, I mean, a thing declared and happens, that's magic. I was just saying something about crackling sound on the stream. I don't think so, but if anybody else is getting it, let us know.
I heard it. It's over now, so I'm not sure what that was.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. So we did have a question here from Gimme Death or Freedom.
Fuck yeah.
The way that is structured, that name threw me for a loop there.
Love it.
Yeah,
Fucking love it. I agree.
I appreciate that name. I just the fucking spelling there. Has anyone ever had an extraterrestrial encounter? I have been visited by Greys when I was a child. I've been trying to get them to come back, and I've been trying to figure out how they fit into the occult.
Same. I remember a while ago when I was on one of these streams and I was talking. I'm sorry, but
No, absolutely. Go ahead. I think I remember this. You were talking about seeing something and then having a loss of time experience.
Yeah, it was about like a night or two after my high school graduation. I went outside at like 3 or 4 in the morning to go smoke a cigarette right quick, and was basically
You smoke?
up. Do what? What?
I said, you smoke?
I would have never have guessed.
Well, I say that because the way you have it all set up, people would think the cigarette is the guest and not Patchwork.
I'm sorry.
I'm being funny.
I'm gonna let you continue real quick, but is that a Jarum?
Sure looks like one.
Oh, you goth motherfucker. I appreciate you. That's a Jarum Black, is it not?
I'm sorry?
Jarum Black? What flavor? Vanilla, cherry?
Emerald, which is the menthol.
Oh, I haven't seen those before. Okay, I'm sorry. Your story. I just had to fucking judge your gothic shit right there.
Yeah, wearing a fucking goat horse shirt.
Fucking goths with your fucking Jarums and whatnot. So yeah, you had a loss of time experience right after your high school graduation. Where you encountered something extraterrestrial.
Yeah, I slipped outside to go smoke me a cigarette. It was like about like 3 or 4 in the morning. I remember like kind of just, I guess you have to think like my mother, it's like I was still living with my mother and stuff at the house. You know, it was a field, kind of like a small field right there. And I kind of went out into that field a little bit to go smoke right quick. And kind of just chill out outside because that's sometimes what I do, just kind of like ground myself out. But I remember like it's like seeing like this odd light that kind of just caught me off guard, and I remember looking up at it and it kept getting closer and closer. Right? And I was basically beamed up. I don't really remember much as to what happened after that. I definitely remember feeling a lot of pressure on my head. By the time it was all said and done, like I woke up like in my bed, like as if like nothing had ever happened. I remember going outside like that following afternoon and found like half of that smoked cigarette where I was standing. That was a pretty odd experience. I know I talked more in detail about it in a previous stream, but I don't know if everyone who's watching this particular stream has seen that one. I can't even remember what stream it was that I talked about that on.
Well, if not, if you want the full experience, you need to go back and rewatch all of our live streams to catch the one with Patchwork.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Aliens to me is
several streams.
To me, Aliens is borderline, not quite as bad, but borderline politics for Flesh Priest, and mainly because my ish with it is there's so much disinformation around about it, and I'm not, you know, I've had, like Patchy, I've had experiences I can't explain with regard to that I mean, I gotta say, some of my first hypnotic sessions were because we all read Communion and Transformation by Whitley Strieber and found out hypnosis is a way to find out if you've been abducted, and I had some weird events, so we did that to find out, and that's how a lot of this came out with the demons and the monsters and shit.
Maybe I need to go see a hypnotist to figure out whether if that actually happened or if it was just a dream or not, because
I don't really think that you're going to really know from that. I think that a hypnotist, you know, as someone who can do hypnosis to people, it's basically, there's too much risk of having a hypnotic dream about it. If you idealize about it a lot, you have a lot of ideation about it a lot, and the hypnosis person is asking you the questions, you're just as likely to invent the story as you are to remember it. And they've proven this with anything, not just aliens, with anything.
There's a reason why it's power of suggestion.
Right.
All of hypnotism.
So the use of hypnotism is that it is a way to enter trance states and gazing states. It's actually, when you want to do spirit communion, it's a really good technique to use. If you're learning, let me rewind a little bit for a second.
All right.
For those of you who look at how any kind of mediumship was done in the past, you usually had, not always, it was usually a pair of people or a whole team of people and a clairvoyant or a clairaudient or a medium. The people around the medium were there to facilitate the medium's experience so they could enter the proper state of mind to have the medium event. This meant that they would conduct a ritual, they'd have all the incense going, they'd play music, or they'd use hypnotic effects of all different kinds. I mean, anything you can think of as hypnosis was used in mediumship on some level in antiquity, and even in the Victorian era and all this stuff. People staring at like spinning discs with pinwheels on them, people lulling them into suggestive states and then doing rituals. So the hypnotic state is exactly the same direction, if not the exact same state, as mediumship. And someone who has enough time being under in meditation, hypnosis, especially if they're taught, especially if they're sort of taught through that hypnosis how to get there, you don't need the hypnosis anymore. You can literally hypnotize yourself just with the proper relaxation techniques and go into that hypnotic state. Now, being suggestible is a slightly different thing, though. So you've got to, it's what I call psychosomatic induction. You've got to get somebody into a state where their transcendent state of consciousness has shifted from the normal, alert, gamma, whatever state it is when you're in a normal alert state, down to an alpha or lower. And in a certain way, your mind is in a different state. It's just a different way of being conscious. You don't suddenly enter necessarily a holodeck experience where your memories come alive like a dream. Sometimes they do. But generally speaking, you are just really lucidly aware of things it's kind of unexplainable. It's like you're fully awake usually. To me, I am. Like, I don't experience memory loss from the hypnosis, although some people claim that they do. Maybe they do. I'm not really suggestible. But a real hypnotist, like especially a stage hypnotist, they look for people in the audience who are suggestible. So they'll do things like raise their hand and try to get to see who, like, okay, everybody put your hand out like this and raise your hand, and they'll see who readily does those things. And they find out who's suggestible, and then they hypnotize in a deeper way.
And the one thing that I've always heard from people who are up on those hypnotist panels or whatever you want to call them, when they talk about it afterwards openly, it's always, when I was up there, they told me, just go with it.
Right. Well, let's play with this for a minute. So Ajna says, and he's right, memories are always heavily infused with fantasy. They're actually pure fantasy, but they're based on mnemonic memories. So you remember, I was at my grandmother's house, and your memory is just the events. You don't actually remember being at your grandmother's house, if that makes sense. So you remember, I was at my grandmother's house, and then your brain will fill in the gaps with fantasy. Those fantasies will be close enough, especially of the details that you intentionally recorded for yourself. But it's more like you're reading a script that's not complete. It's like a person, there's different ways to tell a speech. One way is to literally read the whole thing off a teleprompter. The other way is to memorize it however you want. And another way is to just make cliff notes so that as you're doing the speech, you have different bullet points to cover, and then you fill in the blanks. Well, your memory is more like the note card method where you have bullet points. That's more like what your memory does. It's not a recording. So hypnosis doesn't necessarily get you better memories. You're more relaxed and there's less in the way of them, I guess is the way to think of it. They could still be just full of bullshit all the time. But let's go with what you were saying, Fleshy, they said just go with it. How many of you guys, anybody here or in the comments, how many of you guys have ever gone to a church that does, what's the word for it? It slipped my mind. See, that's how good my memory is. Where they will slay you in the spirit. You know, they'll come along, touch you on the head, you fall down.
Yeah, they'll do fucking a weak man UFC. Yeah, I fucking had that once at a fucking Catholic wedding, and I wasn't prepared for it. I about threw hands with that fucking preacher because nobody let me know what the fuck I was walking up to.
Did you fall down, or did you like remain?
No, motherfucker slapped me in the head because he knew what I was up to. Everybody told me, you don't have to go up. It's totally cool. And then the bride shot me fucking daggers when I dared to remain sitting. So I'm like, okay, I'll fucking go up and I'll drink my wine. Motherfucker slapped me in the forehead.
Oof. Yeah, that's not the way it was ever done to me, but having that experience, okay, and watching and reading people going through it, when it was done to me, I fell on my ass, and I fell on my ass because at the moment, it was like my mom's watching me, everybody's watching me. What did I feel? I mean, I did feel, it was the power of suggestion, but in a peer pressure-y kind of way.
Power of suggestion and groupthink.
And groupthink, yes. And it was one of those things where it's like, I also knew if I wanted to, I could just say no. And then I realized something, though. The line between that and my valid spiritual experiences was pretty non-existent. This is what gets me to the point where I am a rational mystic, in the sense that I don't for a minute have a superstitious belief that when I'm channeling Lucifer, there is this super angelic force that's overpowering my consciousness and is riding me that way. It is more like method acting. It's an intentional act. The thing that is mysterious and magical is that what comes out is valid.
Yeah.
It doesn't, to me, it doesn't matter if I'm just making it up or not. If it's true, it's not, it doesn't. So that's why I say, like, don't disregard your imagination and magic. Let your imagination be there. Like people, like someone I saw was asking a question, how come I don't see spirits? And I get this question all the time. And I go, well, are you imagining them? Well, no, I don't want to do that. Why not?
And
I kind of want to expand a little bit on what you were saying. Is I've heard this idea with when people are put into these situations, they evoke the role that they feel is expected upon them. Is that you start, you know, in that experience where you're supposed to start, or you feel like you're supposed to start experiencing all these things of falling down, of letting the Holy Ghost flow through you and whatnot, of you are identifying a role and you are acting upon it. You are letting it embody you. And in a way, I feel that's not too dissimilar from spirit.
And so let's go back to what I said before. Spirit, when we say spirit in terms of an identified soul, like a being, it is a mythos. It is a story. And when we allow it to possess us on any level, invoke it, channel it, or literal possession, these are varying degrees of method acting, of I'm trying to find English words that are fair to both sides, because there is something magical and spiritual going on, but it's also completely understandable rationally. It is they're two sides of the same coin. What a skeptic would say, you're making it up, I'd say, yeah, but it still has meaning to me.
Say invoking character, maybe that's about the best I could find that rides that balance. Would you say that's fair?
I mean, it's not unfair. I think it's fine. I mean, you are literally doing it, yes. And there's literally a disembodied consciousness, not conscious because that's what you are. There's a disembodied egregore that is part of your experience now. When you fully break that barrier down and you allow that spirit to be you, it's never perfect. Even in possession, it's never perfect. Yeah. But you will definitely, I promise you, I sincerely promise you, you're going to be wrong and you're going to be right, and you're not going to care about the wrong. You're going to do it anyway. You're going to feel something. It's going to be unmistakable once you've done it a few times. You can't deny it. The same thing, most of the people saying who've experienced this thing, like C.M. Helnicanian's talking about how he went to one of those churches, and it seems like no coincidence that he's a very magical person now. You know, he works. there is something to it. I'm not saying that it's not a scam, but what if what they think is happening is psychosomatic and there really is a Yahweh God egregore that's entering you? I think there is. Potentially. I don't think that that's raw. Like, everyone thinks that because we're left-hand path or satanic that we have to be so against the other side that we have to disregard everything they say, like politics. Like, oh, you know, we can't, we have to treat the coof politically instead of what's sensible. People do the same thing over these spiritual ideas.
Adversarial for the sake of being fucking, what's the word? Just being adversarial for the sake of it, really.
Yeah, just being you know, fuck, what's the word? Yeah,
being a twat.
Obstinate, just to be obstinate and contradictarian, you know, and whatever. That's not even a word. I just made it up.
You said it with such conviction. I believed it was a real word.
You know, and so people will literally throw the baby out with the bathwater, and it's gross. You know, like I said, I've had people threaten me because I said something nice about Christians, and here I am wearing black all the time. It's like, dude, this is gross. You're no better than them. You're just as bad as Westboro Baptist when you think that way. And I won't ever take that back. I think it's 100%
fired.
I'll shoot them shots all day long. If you're the type of Satanist that doesn't respect the rights of Christians to practice, whether you like what they believe or not, whether you think that their priests are raping kids or not, they have a right to believe what they believe. And if you don't believe that, you better, when they come for you, and I don't mean just them, I mean when the atheists come for you, because they're not just going to come for the Christians someday, they're going to come for your beliefs too. When the closed-minded brigade comes for you, you're going to be on your own. All people with any kind of belief, even atheism, must respect the right of people to believe what they want.
I got something to say on this.
Uh-oh.
It's like with all these fucking self-proclaimed Satanists who are trying to be hardcore as shit, you know, who are so opposed to these Christians praying to their God and doing their thing. You know, it's like, and you go around berating, and these people go around berating others for their faiths and their practices. It's like, how does that make you any better than they are? It's like, as far as being able to freely express your views and your beliefs, you know.
And it's really ego driven, and it's really, you know, they're just flip flopping Christianity on its head and then practicing the same thing just inverted. They, like, you know, when
the right hand path devil worshiper. And
yes,
honestly, you're just a theistic devil worshiper.
Yeah, that's all you are. And I say the same thing to the New Age pagans that are floating around with the same right hand path mentality as a Christian. They just
fucking New Agers, my guy.
Yeah. It's no better. So this is why, I forget who said it earlier, maybe it was Ajna, said that, you know, here we are with our trappings of darkness, and that keeps out the riffraff, because they either make fun of us and won't even give us the time of day because we look funny and we sound funny, but the ones who have potential will listen and will be like, oh, there's a lot more here than just black metal and mania. Like, they're not sacrificing cats on a barbecue stove.
It's a great filter.
It is. It really is.
It's like, this fucking facade is wonderful, fucking wonderful to wear, because if you are going to judge it that harshly right off the get-go, then we're probably not going to make a connection anyways. But even if you disagree with it but can see past that, we can have a conversation.
Yeah.
Like, this is good. You're my people here.
I learned that at a young age, being a goth dude, because I would get on a bus dressed the way I do. And back in the 80s and 90s, especially the 90s when I really got into it, the 90s and early millennium when I was really into it. You know, I mean, Columbine had just happened, so people looked at you funny if you wore a trench coat anyway, and I was already wearing one.
Dude, people say
I would get on
funny for wearing mine.
I'd get on buses and subways, and people would just make a wide berth as I walked through. Because I'd be walking through, I mean, I was pretty tame for a goth. I mean, I was just black t-shirts, jeans, and trench coats, and my hair slicked back, with sunglasses even at night. Maybe that was a dead giveaway. But I'd walk around like I'd be in Manhattan wearing like sunglasses at night on the subway dude, there was like literal, like, you know, people that probably would rob you if it was in the right part of town, who would just be like, and it just part around you because you look like a lunatic. And you know what was cool though? I'd sit there and like a little old lady would sit next to me and talk to me. She saw through all of that. She's like, I know you're not a bad person. I could just tell. And I'm like, it's kind of like The Shining. Like, you got The Shining then. You know that this is really just... What's that, Patchy?
That he has the gift.
Yeah, like, and when someone's like that, I give them all the respect in the world and I treat them as sweet as can be. I don't give them a heart. I don't go, ugh. That's not what I'm about. This is a like Fleshy said, this is it's like a reverse challenge coin. Like, if you know what a challenge coin is, when you go like a bar where veterans hang out and you put your challenge coin down, anyone who has that coin was in the same outfit as you and like you instantly get the respect. Well, this is like the opposite version of that. If you, in a way, this is like if you're expecting me to look like you and act like you to get along with me, we're not going to get along. But if you can be different and get along with me, now I know we're going to be okay. We have a chance. We have a hope because you're already willing to look past your eyes and see me for who I am. And that's always been like a threshold for me, you know, and that's why I try not to do it to other people. I don't make fun of people much. I mean, I do, but I don't make fun of people much for based on how I do. We all do. Yeah, but I'm being honest.
It's fun and easy, but it's also very superficial where we don't, at our heart of hearts, we don't truly mean these things. Like it's fucking okay, but it is also laughable.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I don't know. I honestly, as off-putting as I can make myself, I still go to a bar and I'm usually the one who ends up talking to everybody. Not because I'm sitting there talking them up, but because I could be sitting there in the corner nursing a drink and somebody, so what are you in for? You know, invariably I get some barfly wants to talk to me. I don't know why. So, you know, I just have that power. The thing is though, these are all uniforms, right? So a person like Patchy over there looks at me,
yeah,
and he's like, he's wearing the uniform of my people, right? He might be more inclined to come up and talk to me. So it can be a double-edged sword. You can get assholes who wear your uniform.
Oh,
not
yeah.
that Patchy's an asshole. Not that.
I didn't take it as you implying. I don't think he did either, but I won't speak for him.
Okay, just in case. I want to make sure, just in case.
Yeah, how many fucking assholes I've seen wearing the fucking rainbow? Fuck you. You don't deserve that goddamn rainbow.
That one's a little different though. I don't want to get too political and so, but it is social. It is a little different because that's become a symbol. And symbols have a way of attracting ideologues and virtue signaling people who don't actually get it. They're literally just trying to fit in with the crowd. That's one of the reasons why even now I kind of cringe at calling myself goth, because when I look around, there's not many of us left. But when I look around, what passes for goth today would have been mocked and ridiculed when I was younger. Like, that's not goth. It's just a bunch of emo people that just like, you know.
Are you talking about the fucking middle school girls with the emo Karen haircuts?
The fucking dyed snot green hair. Fucking Harry Potter glasses.
Like, the irony is, like, you know what the most goth shit is ever? Wear all fucking white and go to a goth club. I mean it. Like, wear like pure white, like wear a white suit and fucking look and like invert that shit. Like, just like I would so respect that.
I'm more goth than you. I'm sorry, you go ahead, Patchy.
Wait, do you have the X's on your nipples? If you don't, you're not goth. That's what people used to talk like, man. That's ridiculous.
I personally walk into the goth club wearing a pure white mankini and assless chaps. If you're not that goth, then get on my fucking level.
Right? I always said that I was the post-apocalyptic goth because I always wanted to be wearing like Mad Max clothes at the goth club.
Oh, you're the fucking Gary Newman of goth. I bet you wear a fucking belt around your neck.
No, because that's not really Gary Newman. That's the thing he did.
Referring to.
I know what you're referring to. I do. No, like, you know, like I always wanted to look like Mad Max in a trench coat, or if you ever saw the movie Cyborg with Jean-Claude Van Damme, I always loved the way the bad guy looked with his his chainmail armor. I always thought he was cool as fuck. I always wanted to be like him. So I got the hairdo.
Yeah. It really is fucking post-apocalyptic goth, because every fucking survival game or post-apocalyptic, why do I have trouble with that word?
Post-apocalyptic.
Yeah, that one. Thank you. Every one of those games always has that fucking haircut in it. You're always embodying your character when it comes into it.
What?
That's one reason why, like, when I want to write my fiction, everyone's going to realize how much of a Mary Sue my main characters are, because they're always going to have some version of an undercut or a mohawk or a baldy or something like that. It's going to be way too obvious. But yeah.
Well, we're talking it's just a haircut, or we're talking about Thorn's haircut?
Not both, really. I mean,
I'm what the only one who does not have the.
we need to get Connor Kendall on, because I think he represents what's left of like the more mainstream but actual goth look these days. Like I'm a different slide of that. Like I'm more off to the. I'm more of like the heavy metal goth guy. Like I'm more like I fit in both spheres.
You're
honestly, you know what the best litmus test always was? When we were younger, and it was a joke, but it was true. The minute you say you're goth is the moment you stop being goth. It's kind of true.
Oh, he's bringing out the 5-string. That's
the hipsters. It's the hipsters that are too cool to be hipsters. That's a goth.
I don't know if anyone else can see me or not, or if it's just you two.
Oh, everybody can see you.
Oh, everyone can see me?
Yep.
And that big orange dildo you got on the side there. Yep, we see it.
Where?
He's like, where? Leave it out.
I remember buying that. I knew you guys were just fucking with me.
I hope so.
Ooh, good cover.
I mean, even Fleshy puts his away for the show.
I mean, I hide it in the background.
It's not even hidden. If you turn that camera like a half a degree to the left or right, I'm sure there's like a giant horse cock floating in the distance.
Bad dragon.
I am going to
Mr.
segue
Happy.
off of that one. That did occur. That did occur not too far away from where I live. Fucking Enoch. Anyways, here's a question from Gogo that was asked a little while ago that I think is a interesting question. It's aimed at DH, but I want to open it up to everybody. Were you afraid the first time that you communicated with spirits?
Yeah, go for it, guys. You talk first.
Who's going first? Me or you?
Fuck it. I'll pop in real quick. I was not afraid. I was not afraid. I was curious and optimistic, and I wanted it to happen, but I went in not expecting anything. And then personally, for my first intentional encounter, I got the shit scared out of me pretty rapidly, just because, oh fuck, that was something. Shit, I wasn't actually expecting that to work, and I was never really afraid per se, but there are situations, poltergeist activity and whatnot, in which sometimes it can be a little bit scary, I think, at least at first, but you get more and more used to it. It stops being so much of an issue. I don't know what to say. Was not afraid.
So for me, if we're going to be talking about like evoking a spirit, like the very first time ever trying to evoke a spirit, I was about maybe 11 or 12. I was pretty freaked out. Got scared of shit, like real quick, because I didn't know what I was doing. Honestly, I like kind of did it just to see if there was actually even anything at all, like beyond like this physical form that we exist in. And it definitely answered my question. There definitely is stuff beyond this material plane. But as far as I getting freaked out, yeah, I about pissed myself.
I mean, to answer the question, technically no. because the first spirit that I ever worked with was the Christian one. And there was no fear involved in that whatsoever. And my interactions with it were sincere at the time. I do believe that I was in contact with whatever I thought that was. I would talk to it, and I would feel like I was getting messages back from it. Later on, I found out that at least some of those times that was Lucifer talking to me, not this Christian thing.
He's been your entire life.
Yeah. And then of course I realize how this really works, and I'm like, well, of course that makes sense, because whatever he is what I am, and so on. Anyway. So no, the very first time I worked with a spirit, no, there was no fear at all. But the first time I worked with one other than that was sort of accidental, as I've talked about. It was really a prank. We were trying to do a prank on somebody. And we were reading out of the Necronomicon, the Calling of the Watcher, and we set up a fake-ass ritual with a fake pentagram on the ground, and it was really, like, just really bad.
Is it fake if it worked?
No, but I mean, we didn't know. We thought it was like just, we thought even if it was real magic, we weren't even doing it out of the book. We were literally making a pentagram out of the floor, putting candles at the points, and then reading out of the fucking book what sounded cool. Like, oh, we're going to do we're going to conjure the Watcher, what it's called.
I mean, you're actually supposed to draw a double circle, and don't really have to like draw like a giant pentagram to stand in. The only
well, that's what we did.
Oh.
And we did this thing, and that was the first.
How to invoke the Watcher properly.
And so when that happened, all hell broke loose. Not right away. It took a few minutes for it to really start, but when it did, it changed our lives for 10 years, give or take, man. It really did. Nothing was the same after that. And that day, I remember being really scared. That's all I really remember was the fear, and then waking up the next day. Whatever's left is like a dream for me. So the fear was real. And it was that. It wasn't a fear like you're scared of something. It was a fear of like, I don't know what I'm scared of, but I feel fear. Like I don't, because at first there was nothing to be scared of. It was like, okay, there's a weird presence in the room. I feel like I'm being watched. This is really creepy. Then there was this feeling of cold around the room and around the basement where we were doing it, and we went looking for it. Well, I did. To the point where like it's almost like I got carried away with myself, because it was like part of me was like, this can't be real. This can't be happening. This is a joke. This is funny. It's not. Maybe I'm just imagining. Maybe it's not really cold. Next thing I know, I wake up the next day pretty much with scattered memories of the rest of the day. And long story short, yeah, scared for sure for that. But not so much since then. I guess once you've tasted fully the cup of what this is, the fear is completely different. You'll still get jump scares. I get jump scares all the time. I'll be out there in the woods doing a conjuring or something, and I'm expecting something, but I'll still jump when that branch falls in the middle of nowhere, like for no reason or whatever. That movement happens, that rustling in the trees, that whatever it is, the hair stands up on your neck, you spin around, you go, what the fuck was that?
Predator.
You can't.
It's Predator.
What's that?
I said it's Predator. He's watching you.
Yeah, right. You expect to turn. Yeah, you're. Yeah. So, Fleshy, do we have any other callers, or did they all give up because we're so talkative?
No other callers at this moment. No.
Oh, okay. So I thought we had a second one lined up, but I don't remember what happened with that.
The second caller that was lined up had to drop out, unfortunately.
Oh.
They were. They realized right after scheduling it that, oh shit, actually I need to crash.
Gotcha. Yeah, we didn't get to him fast enough because I got to wear myself out. I'm like that little kid that goes to the playground. You got to let me wear myself out before you can go, and
I do have a question here, and I like this question because I feel I don't have we'll get to that in a second. Watched by the Watchers. Ironic giving the question I'm about to ask. With the super chat said, much love guys. Do you have any experience with Beelzebub? Also, are him and Baal the same entity, just different name? Baal's sigil resembles a fly. Thank you for that. Watched by the Watchers.
Anybody want to jump on that grenade first, or?
Never really worked with Beelzebub directly, so I can't really answer that. Sorry.
So having, yeah, go ahead, Fleshy.
No, you go ahead, please.
Having worked with Baal, because I intentionally went after Baal and was redirected, like I got the answering machine, was like, no, you really want Baal. That's who you're looking for. So I got Baal, and I was told it's basically the same guy. Baal is the Christian retelling of the Baal from the Canaanite religion. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Yep.
What's that?
I said, yep.
Yeah, so they have no idea what they're talking about. So if you really want to talk to the real Baal, talk to Baal from all of Mesopotamia, because there's a lot of Baals. Okay, which one you want to talk to is up to you. So is it the same thing? That is one hell of a can of worms, because there's an anthropological answer, there's a theistic answer, there's a superstitious answer, there's a demonologer answer. Here's the thing, if you're asking the question, you're kind of already fucked. Now, what do I mean by that? It means on some level you believe that they are objectively real. These spirits, I mean. In the sense that there is a real Lucifer and a fake Lucifer. There's a real Baal and a real fake, a real Beelzebub and a real Baal, or they're all one or whatever. That there is like a living person that is the same thing or a different thing.
Right.
The way I approach all these spirits is that it's what I was told to do by Lucifer. It's one thing to anthropologically study their origins and to realize that there's a connection, or to realize that they are all representative of the same essential archetype. That's a fair way to do it. But I'm even wrong for saying that Baal and Baal are the same, because the Christian Baal is an egregore that is separate from the Mesopotamian Baal. They just are. They don't represent the same thing. The energy behind them, it's still the same consciousness. It's all the same consciousness. It's just one egregore is a demon for Christians. The other one's an egregore that was once a good guy in a religion, a pagan religion. So which one do you want to work with? I would treat them as separate, only because if you're coming at this from that Christian perspective, they are different. They're just treated differently. So just go with that until it doesn't feel right. And when it feels right, then you can combine them if you want. But for my personal practice, while it is useful to anthropologically look at the history and see where their origins are in confirmable history and science, the real value in them is theurgic, which means you're literally trying to see in yourself them in yourself and yourself in them. You're trying to figure out your own divinity by working with spiritual forces, elements, elementals, archetypes, egregores, angels, demons, all of that good stuff. Here's where people get into problems. You'll get into a somewhat accomplished occultist, or worse, a charlatan. Either one is a problem. Who will channel the spirit, and they'll get an answer from that spirit. So they think, they do, whatever. They get an answer. And the answer will be, yes, Beelzebub and Baal are the same because they both have to do with flies, with the sigil and blood. Because you're right, the sigil of Baal looks a little bit like a fly, but some people say it looks like a frog. Go figure. So you'll get someone who will get a channel, and be like, oh no, they're absolutely the same thing. And then you get all the little herds of minions, all these little followers on, all these people are going to say, G.H. Thorne says they're the same. Ha ha! They don't use their own clout or their own, arguments. They use a cult of personality to follow, and that becomes the egregore for them, and it works for them.
Yeah, Cult of Personality, that's a good song.
It is. So people will take these spirits and they will treat them as real theistic things. And they completely miss the point. They're literally falling on their knees to an idea. And they're making a mistake. So all I'm saying is, I'm not going to give you a yes or no on this one. What I want you to do is deconstruct your question and ask yourself, what are you really trying to find out? I know what you think you're asking, but what are you really trying to learn? What if I said yes? What proof do I have for that? Maybe I've got some historical evidence. Maybe. That'd be really cool. What if I said no? what's it going to value you? Like, where do you get value in this? How does that help you? How does that change anything for your spirituality if they are or they aren't? So there was a question today on some forum somewhere where somebody says, is Satan the prince of hell? And it's like, how do you tell somebody in a nice way that they are,
I don't know.
they're lost in a fantasy, especially when being lost in the fantasy is part of the point. Like, you're supposed to be a little bit. So how do you correct that without breaking it? It's really tough.
It is extremely difficult.
And so what's going on there, Flesh Priest?
Oh, I sent him a DM on the down low. Figured when he stopped talking, he would check that.
When I'm done ranting.
Yeah, because I think I've seen it too.
Oh yeah, all of us can see it. Yeah, and I know I'm not gonna go on with this for forever because anybody who has watched our streams before probably knows what I have to say about my personal feelings about trying to ask, is the spirit the same as this? Is kind of, I feel like in a lot of ways is kind of like asking if Flesh Priest as you see before you is the same spirit as my government name that I use outside of this stream. It's like, are these the same spirit or whatnot? It's like, it's not, they behave differently. It's not really as important, I don't think. Just enjoy the interactions.
They're all masks for the same consciousness at the end of the day. And some masks are connected to the same archetypes, the same origin, the same characters. While you're embodied, because you have this idol that you call a body, you could say that from a soul perspective, yes, the government name Fleshy and this Fleshy are the same. They're not the same mask, though. And they ultimately have different thoughts and different experiences from each other, to the point where on a long enough timeline, with a long enough development, they can break. They can break apart and become two different people. I'm a firm believer in this, because not just like from a schizophrenic or multiple personality perspective. I mean, upon the day Fleshy eventually Sudokus himself or Alivins himself, however that happens, there's going to be people who remember him as the government Fleshy. There's going to be me who remembers him as the Fleshy. There's going to be you guys who remember him as the D.H. Thorne Fleshy. There's so many different Fleshies out there. And all of them are going to kind of break up and become their own story in the minds of those who remember them, to the point where consciousness will have a choice of which one of those identities to live through at any given moment. So here's an even bigger bombshell. These spirits, we'll use Zeus because that's the most obvious, biggest, easiest answer, because Zeus is easily, I bring this up over and over and over again because Zeus is the easiest one. Every culture has a Zeus, because Zeus is originally patterned after what was probably a chieftain or a hero in a giant battle, or somebody important to the Proto-Indo-European culture that they called Deus Pater, who was probably an ancient king or something that for whatever reason was associated with the sky, or it was an idea, but I think it was a person once upon a time. I think it was a living person. And I think that their memory became mythologized and deified, and that person, the consciousness that was once limited to that person, eventually broke up into all of these different gods that were Zeus, Baal, Enlil, Thor, Indra, Jupiter, all of these different archetypes. There's also ones, I'm not familiar with the names, but they're also in Celtic mythology. There's literally the same guy again. Even the Yahweh egregore is kind of a very broad interpretation of Deus Pater. It's got that in there. So at the end of the day, this one person who was probably a great king or something, who did something amazing, unified the tribes, whatever, split because of all these different retellings of the same mythology. And now that consciousness can probably, this is the idea of syncretization. If you look up syncretization in The Greeks and the Egyptians did this constantly because they loved each other. They were fucking dry humping each other when they got together. Yeah, they definitely docked all day long. They were docking like crazy. The Egyptians and the Greeks were ass buddies for a while, and they syncretized most of their gods at some point, a lot of them anyway. This is why it's so fruitful to look at Egyptian stuff in that frame. And syncretization is what happens when intellectuals look at these guys and put them together. But that's a reverse engineering process of the natural order of what actually probably happened. Was these are retellings of the same myths through the lens of different cultures. So you can access any one of them. You can have Zeus, Jupiter, Deus Pater, all these guys can show up together at once and be all ultimately the same consciousness. They're all masks for that same consciousness. The crazy irony is, as a non-dualist, you come to realize that all consciousness is one consciousness. So right now, Fleshy's my mask as well as me being my mask, and Patchwork is my mask and I'm his mask. We're all masks for that same consciousness. We just forgot. We cosmic ignorance, primordial ignorance. You've forgotten that you're chaos. You've forgotten your God. And if you ever fully remember it, you're not going to remember all of it as this person, because it just wouldn't all fit in this thing. You have to expand that soul boundary has to grow to fit more of the knowledge of what you are. So when you do, you die, your body dies, you go, oh, I'm dead, oh, it's so horrible. But you know what? This is kind of cool. I'm floating around. I'm actually not attached to this. I can go to heaven. I can go to hell. Look at everybody crying over me. Why do I suddenly know what they're thinking? Oh, because they're all thinking about me. That's probably what it's going to be like. And you're just going to expand and grow. And who knows what the fuck you're going to become next. Who knows?
Go to the court of exit thought.
You might even just be like, oh, I'm dead. I got to have a new body. And you might jump into a new, I mean, I'm exaggerating. I don't think it's literally like that, but hypothetically, it's probably something like that. Probably. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to take a breath.
Shit. Okay, so this one, you have a moment of breather, although I'm sure you'll jump in. This is the question which I was alluding to earlier, which is ironic that Watcher of the Watcher, forgive me, I forget what the name was at this moment. So Wyatt Coverdale asked, may I ask exactly what a Watcher is from the Necronomicon? I've heard of it, but I don't exactly know its purpose. And I will also admit, as somebody who's not dived into the Lovecraftian current, I only have the basest squiggly squaggly interpretation of what a Watcher is. So could either of you illuminate us?
Basically, the Watcher from the Necronomicon perspective, from my understanding, is kind of like your own personal guide. From what I can understand. Now, as far as like some of the tales of stuff, they originally were like of ancient ones type origin. They did side with the cohort, with the armies of Kingu and Tiamat, but then later decided to side with the younger gods and stuff. I don't remember the exact reason, because it's been a minute since I've read through all that stuff. But from my experiences and what I know from like working with the Watcher personally, it's essentially kind of like your own personal guide in a sense. It becomes a part of you over time the more you work with it. And I've been working with mine for about 2 years now. That's kind of the understanding that I have. There may be... What the hell was that buzzing?
I don't know. It's back, though.
Oh, my end?
Oh. I bet it's on DH's end. That explains why he doesn't hear it.
Maybe
it's magic.
It's magic.
Maybe it's synchronicity.
You can't just use that as an excuse, even though I do that fucking shit every time. Just, it's magic. Don't ask me to explain it. We
got to get that gif of what's his name with the magic.
But did you
I love that gif.
It's a fucking GIF.
It's a GIF. It's a GIF.
I have actually fully...
GIF, but GIF. You are probably the first person I have ever heard use that term jive.
No, not jive. It's a GIF.
Who and associated with is also known as GIF. You were the first person I've ever heard use the term GIF.
You know, it started off as just a way to piss people off with the whole GIF versus GIF discussion, and now I just legitimately have embodied this, where it sincerely threw me for a loop when you pronounced it GIF. But there I'm like, what the fuck? Is he talking about a GIF? Anyways, sorry, we were talking about Watchers and magic before I fucking threw in my fucking post-millennial bullshit into the mix.
You're good.
So I'm gonna be a dick about this. I'm gonna be one of them dicks.
Fucking.
So
hold on.
Oh, go ahead.
Watchers and stuff. Let me go grab Buck. Be right back.
Okay. So while he's grabbing that, what?
Well, I want him to hear this too.
Okay, fair enough.
So I'm gonna wait for him to come back and maybe say his piece, because I'm gonna probably rant for a minute.
Okay.
So
we had a question here from Logan55. Oh, okay. Well, hold that. I figured he was gonna take longer for the book.
Oi, I'm back.
Howdy, we missed you.
Yeah, I was gone for a 2.
With every shot so far.
Every shot so far. Yeah, I remember reading it somewhere that the Watcher does is kind of like your own personal god. I have the Oracle of Inuduna by Warlock Asylum here. A book that kind of goes into Sumerian lore and stuff. Forgot what I was gonna say.
I wish I could bail you out. I was checking chat right here.
I know. Make it Mel. While you're looking that up, Mel Azazel says, "Do any of you guys know about?"
Oh, I'm happy you brought that up.
EA. I don't know. He's occasionally been a guest on here. We sort of know.
Who's that? Are you talking about Electronic Arts? I played a few of their games.
Yeah, he must be talking about that.
Oh yeah, EA Sports. It's in the game.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Patchy. Go ahead.
All right. Find out where I read this at exactly. I hope I can read in this fucking candlelight. I mean, I could just turn on the light, but that just kind of killed the mood, man.
Why would you ruin the aesthetic?
Yeah, it gotta be all dark and edgy, man. All mysterious, just like a floating face and a pair of arms just floating in the abyss. My shiny Belial ring just floating in the abyss. Alright. Where the fuck is it?
So while you're finding that, I'm going to bring up this question that Logan555 asked. I think it's a quick one. He said, "What's y'all's perspective on psychedelics? They've changed my life and woke me up to a lot." I embrace the idea of psychedelics. And in fact, I haven't really experimented with much of them, but I know you and I, DH, are talking about experiencing La Purga.
Mm-hmm. The only thing is we got to be careful because of YouTube and the laws of the land can be douchey about these things. So we can neither confirm nor deny that it's a good idea. I would advise you that the law of the land says what it says, and you should obey that and not listen to anything I have to say. That being said, you can totally disregard everything and do what you will. But psychedelics, I found out recently like a good perspective on it that I picked up. I don't remember where I saw it. I don't know if it was on Discord, somebody said it, or where. But a good perspective on it is sort of a shortcut, easy way, if you can really call it easy, to have the same kind of ego dissolution experience that a monk would have who practices various forms of transcendental meditation his whole life. The difference is that the psychedelics are kind of like a crutch. They're not bad. They're a medicine for sure. It's not something you should say is like, oh, it completely ruins your ability to do this. No. It's just like the easy way.
It
But if you
it's kind of like
but you-
using an accelerant to start a fire rather than just a stick.
right, but ultimately the goal is not to use them as the, like, if you use them as the only way, you're going to run into problems. What you really want to do is develop psychic spiritual muscles, learn how to do the transcendental stuff, and then use that as either a confirmation tool or as your first taste, if you will. The thing is, you know, the meditative method is rarely as visceral and vivid as a psychedelic's going to be. Psychedelic's going to be complete with all kinds of visual hallucination, auditory hallucinations, all that stuff. When you have a breakthrough with your transcendental meditation, you hit samadhi, satori, one of those things. It's like a more embodied version. It's less vivid and visceral most of the time. You literally just realize, you have a realization that's a spiritual realization. It's a deep realization. It is a felt realization. It is a shift of perspective. Your ego dissolves. You realize what you are, and you exist in that space for a while. And it's totally doable without psychedelic chemicals. It really is. It's just the psychedelics are going to be quicker, harder, more complete, because you're literally, the chemical literally binds to parts of your biology in your brain that give you a sense of identity. That's part of what it does, and it kind of short circuits that. It's like having a stroke in just the right part of the brain so that you don't have a sense of identity for a minute. And I'm really hyper simplifying it, but that's kind of what it does, and that is enough to give you a very deep spiritual experience when it happens. So they are not better or worse. They are just, look, sometimes you need pure bleach to clean the stain out of your toilet, and sometimes you just flush it a few times, right? So think of it like that. It's not better or worse. It's just a whole bucket full of it at one time. And honestly, if you don't have a spiritual background, a proper one, and I don't mean like you believe, I mean if you don't have a proper education, meditation, and a concept of who and what you are, when you have that moment of getting the deep end, that deep end moment of ego dissolution, you're not going to know what to make of it. You're going to be lost in the weeds and fucking suffering. It's going to fuck you up. Yeah.
All right. Now, as far as like finding, particularly in this book where it talks about the Watcher kind of like being your own personal god, which kind of lines up with some of my gnosis and experiences working at the Watcher, I think I might have found it right here, and it's about about 2 pages worth. So I'm gonna read that real quick if that's cool.
Ooh, 2 pages worth. All right, we'll see.
All right. And let's start here with this quote here. The personal god was not one of great gods of Babylonian pantheon, not even the god evoked in one's personal name, but a protective supernatural spirit like a guardian angel. The customary translation of the Lamasu guided by his prodigy through life, since one's own quote-unquote god was through to be intimately associated with the person in any illness or misfortune he experienced as a result of malevolent influences or of quote-unquote sin also affected his god. We could see that this personal god was deeply connected with the worshiper. It was even affected by illness or misfortune of the person. It too seemed to take delight in purity. In some texts, ancient Mesopotamians are reported to have called for this sense of protection to return to them. This personal god seems to be identical with the Watcher in the Simon Necronomicon. Notice that these 2 passages here are taken from the tome. The 3rd sign is the sigil of the Watcher. It is called the Bandar. The Watcher is a race sent by the older ones who keeps vigil while the one sleeps. Provided the appropriate ritual and sacrifice has been performed, else if called, it will turn on you. Later in the last section of this text, we read about how the quote-unquote Watcher was affected by his own sickness. For the sorry, tongue-tied there for a second. For the
You're good.
Zoroaster sign has not left its station, and I cannot fucking speak for whatever reason tonight. For the Zoroaster sign has not left its station behind me, and it grows larger, casting a shadow over these pages as I write. I have summoned my watcher, but it is troubled by some things and does not respond to me well, as though affected with some sort of disease and dazed. Gods, Demons, and Symbols of Ancient Mesopotamia by Jeremy Black and Anthony Green mentioned on the following on page 148. This deity is usually not named and is referred to by any worshiper as my god or my goddess. Apparently, it could be the deity of either sex. This unidentified deity acts as a protective influence who watches over the life of the individual. Reference is often made to be a personal god, Ilu, and goddess Ishtaru. Sometimes it is said that the personal deity that he quote-unquote created the individual who is under his protection. Possibly the name of the deity was known as the individual but was omitted in normal speech. Since occasionally a deity is named, the idea of a benevolent god is close to that of a benevolent Sidhu, male, or Lamasu, female, anthropomorphic beings who accommodated people. In one text, the personal god is responsible for sending such beings as agents for his protection. Clearly, it was important to placate the personal god or goddess who might be offended in all sorts of ways, deliberately or unintentionally. It was often said that an unlucky person is that his god had left him.
So things keep coming up, like so first of all, the Lamasu is many different things. I like Damien Eccles' channel. He talks about them as that's actually the same thing as the Sphinx, and it's really a symbolic representation of something that has aligned the elements of the four fixed positions of the zodiac. So you have the what we call Scorpio.
Tome that I was reading from.
So the four zodiac, the fixed zodiac, you have the Taurus, the Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. And that would be a man. In the old times, it would be a man, an eagle, a bull, and a lion. And that's why a Lamasu has those things. And the thinking is that's also a Sphinx, and you also see them in modern Christianity all over the fucking place. So it's literally a reference to the zodiacal, balance. So you're talking about something that is balanced, the balance being that's of those fixed positions represents all four elements. Now, let's not read too far into that, but let's say that the first thing you have to realize is that the Necronomicon by Simon is basically a repackaging of what probably the closest thing would be like either, I don't know, maybe, I mean, it's really not exact. It's not one for one, but it's a repatterning of the same objective that you have in the Golden Dawn and Thelema. And it uses planetary magic of a sort where
yes.
What's that?
I said there are some similarities. Yes, I have been looking into like Golden Dawn style magic and Hermeticism. I actually do have a couple books on that.
So when you look past the symbolism, because they use different ways of employing the symbolism. Necronomicon is Sumerian, and it's pretty good stuff. I mean, it's good for that reason. I like the Sumerian history. So I'm not saying that it's like my favorite style, like aesthetically, but I like the history. It's so deep and rich. So when you look at this, what you're really doing is if you understand the astrological correspondences of the planets and the gates, and you realize that they're pretty much similar, if not the same, to Greco Hellenistic zodiacal meanings, You're going through each one of those planets in the same way that you would do in other forms of planetary magic. You're going through them one at a time. The intention here is to integrate those different shadows, and it's basically theurgy. You're doing a theurgistic art where you're going one by one through each of the gods, doing their mysteries with them, getting their information as in a planetary way, integrating that, taking your time with each one, with the intention of eventually seeing through the illusion of your mortality, recognizing that you are a living avatar for God, and realizing that that's what your watcher is. Your watcher is, for more or less, it's identical with the Holy Guardian Angel from the Thelema Golden Dawn, whatever. When they talk about knowledge and conversation of your higher guardian angel, that's the watcher. It's the same thing. And what you're meant to eventually recognize is that watcher is you. It's your perfected, ascended, like, the idea is almost like that basilisk, that somewhere in the future is the perfected version of your soul that knows that it's God, and it's guiding you on this path to realize it. And so that's really what your watcher is. That's what all this purification stuff is about. The purification is a misinterpretation. It should be integration. You should be integrating these demons that you have, realizing what they are, and integrating so they don't have power over you. That's the real purification. So the Necronomicon's badass, but it's steeped in this mysterious Sumerian Lovecraftian energy, because whoever created that knew what the fuck they were doing. There is no question in my mind that the person who created that was a very highly... I know a guy who says he knows the guy who did it, but I don't know if it's true. But supposedly the person who created that...
Receipts.
Yeah, well, he's ill right now. I don't know if I'll ever have him back on the show, unfortunately, and he won't talk about it. So it's all kind of personal stuff. But yeah, so the Necronomicon, it's clearly not actual, like, Sumerian it's clearly taken from something, borrowing from Sumerian archetypes, just like Golden Dawn did the exact. So they're both tantric magic with the overlay of Western or Mediterranean or Mesopotamian stuff on it. They're all tantric methods of transcendence. They all use the same basic formula. It's just they'll use different symbols to do it, and they'll go about it slightly different ways. Because the Sumerians were big into the stars and astrology, the Necronomicon has to be big into stars and astrology, and it works really well for those who really dedicate to it. They really do. I've never met some. I've never. Yeah, and the thing is, the people who go, "Oh, Necronomicon's fake because it's fake." I'm like, if only you knew. Pretty much every magical system you've ever studied is fake on the same level. It's all made up by some people who studied some history once.
Yeah, it's to those people, it's like, you're not wrong, but dig a fucking centimeter deeper.
Right. Like, yeah, and look in the mirror while you're digging that hole too, because it's people go, "Oh, it's." Necronomicon's not real, and you think the Goetia is real? You think the Lesser Key of Solomon's real? You think that anything the Golden Dawn is real? It's all based off of the same stuff.
It's all bullshit, but that bullshit is useful.
Yeah, it's useful bullshit. Now, here's the thing. What is real about it is not the fifth house of the seventh son of the chicken and the hammer flying together at night. None of that's the important part. That's all just symbolism that it uses. You need, I'm gonna plug it again. I wish he'd pay me $1. A book like this motherfucker right here. Read through this guy and understand what the secret.
I can't. The Secret History of the World. Who's that by?
Mark Booth. Read this fucker, because this tells you what the secret societies think in a nutshell. Then go find yourself. Go join the Rosicrucians or something like that. Read what they've got. All their texts available online for free. You just go and look at them. Read all these things, and you'll see what the real occult beliefs are, not just the Golden Dawn and stuff. I don't have the time to assimilate it all, because I sort of went the other way. I had my enlightenment moment, and I see why they're all pointing that way. So I don't need their little occulted secrets anymore, because it's what I keep telling you guys. The truth is really easy to see. So a lot of this stuff is the Western version of having the same transcendental awakening that you can have through yoga or through psychedelics or any of these things. They're just ways to do that. When you reach the end of this rainbow, You have apotheosis. You realize you have henosis. You realize you are God. You're an avatar for God. That doesn't mean you snap your fingers and anything that you say happens, because what you say is what the mask is saying. What the higher self is doing is what's God. You realize that this is all a beautiful, beautiful, dance that's happening, and you're playing all the parts, and you kind of let go. It almost sounds right-hand path, but I've always said, and I've never denied this, I've never said one's better or one's worse. I've always said right-hand path and left-hand path ultimately lead to the same truth. It's just the one is a path of liberation from slavery. The other one uses slavery to the point where you lose yourself. Either way, your ego is dissolved. Either hand will dissolve your ego, because you either go so far into ego or so far out of it. Either one will dissolve the ego, because eventually you're going to realize that it's the same conscious in both. It's the same consciousness running everything. So your watcher in the Necronomicon, if my understanding of what they're doing is accurate, which I think it is, it's identical to the higher guardian angel, and the purpose is the same. The higher guardian angel is not an external thing. It is really you. Ultimately, it's you. And when you realize that, a whole lot of shit opens up to you. Because I know this because of my own experiences in magic. People go, oh, Thorn, you're this and you're that. I just did it differently. Instead of going through these rituals and these practices, which they're fun, they're useful, they're a great tool, but they're misleading because of the way we're using them today. The way to think of it is like this. Part of tantric yoga are the hatha yoga poses, but they're not really yoga. You can completely not do them and still do yoga correctly. People think when someone hears the word yoga, they think these postures. That's really cool, but that's like gymnastics to those people who invented this stuff. That wasn't the purpose of it. You didn't do those postures as the way to become God. They were just a way to help you align the body with what you were doing internally with the spirit. But they weren't the whole show. You didn't need them at all. They're just a thing you could do to help your body be healthy, to align your energy centers and all that good shit. Very useful. But people get lost in the weeds because they think those weeds, they think the forest is the trees, and they get lost like just chasing after these little, because they're material. You get lost in these material parts because you think, just like every superstitious person thinks, well, that's not a real beeswax candle. Therefore, it's not going to work unless it's real beeswax, because obviously real beeswax is a magic candle and these other ones are not.
That is the
you get
fucking
lost in that
trapping that I fucking got out of.
They say a lot of materialism in general is a big trapping that a lot of people fall for, unfortunately. Yeah. They're not able to see like all the materialistic stuff and use what little bit that they do have. I mean, it does not take a lot to actually have it, to be able to actually have any genuine success when doing this sort of stuff. It really doesn't.
I've said it before and I'll say it again.
What's that?
I've never caused a change in the world by doing a ritual. Never. That's not what's happened.
The idea of ritual itself is just an outward expression of what's already what's already come to pass in the astral.
So all that's really happening is time and space are an illusion. There's only one time and only one space, and it's eternal in all directions. Time doesn't pass. Time doesn't move. Your consciousness is what's moving. Okay, your consciousness isn't even moving. It's. I always do this because it's hard to explain. Consciousness doesn't move, but for lack of a better word, we say consciousness moves through reality, not the other way around. So what's really happening is your awareness is scanning through reality and going to the outcomes that are already there waiting for you. Every possible incarnation of your life is already there. So doing magic ritual doesn't cause anything. That's why we said before, nothing is created nor destroyed. It's already there. All you're doing is taking your consciousness to that place in the multiverse. So we all like Rick and Morty or some version of it, where it's like an infinite number of dimensions.
Renegade Angel, so much better.
So you have an infinite number of dimensions in which all things are possible. All you're doing is your consciousness is already doing this. It's already surfing through reality, following a path of least rational resistance. It's already doing that. This is why you drop a cup, the cup smashes on the ground, because it's irrational because of the way your consciousness is currently set up to see it any other way. But it could if it just let go of its attachments completely. You take psychedelics, you let go of those attachments, you'll see that cup spring back up on your table fully formed again. Never done it, but I know people who've talked about it like that. Weird shit happens that shouldn't be possible. So your consciousness is capable of seeing reality in all these different ways, but you see it in a very linear way because that's how your consciousness has been directed by the mind. The mind says, this is rational, we're going this way. So what ritual does is it kind of, you can't change anything. You can't even change the course of your timeline. But what you can do is become aligned with it and allow it to transpire in a way where sometimes an event cannot have a causal way of happening. So this is why magic is always acausal. This candle doesn't change anything in the fucking world when I charge it with energy. What's happening is I'm creating what I call a paradigm gate. I'm creating a cognitive gateway to a reality that is possible, but it's just a few steps away from where I could rationally go. I can't make myself rich by the old tried and true methods the way I tried growing up. So what do? I do my rituals, I work with spirits, and I say, give me a book that will be a good seller that I can have prosperity in my life finally and be remembered long after I'm dead for writing these works of magic that will go into history, and I'll be seen as one of the greats. And so what happens? I start writing faithfully, and all of my confidence didn't matter. I just said, I'm just going to write this book, and if it sucks, I won't publish it. And so I finished it, and there it is. There's my fucking book, and I sell it. Become the Maelstrom. Boom, I make, between all three of my books, $33,000 over 2 years. I don't mind telling you. Not enough to live on by themselves, by the way, but I'll take it, man. That's pretty fucking good for self-published. Not many people can say the same. So I take that and I go, that's a goddamn success. I'm taking that as my success. I could not have done that without doing the magic. Not because the magic did it. The magic didn't do anything. I did it. I wrote the book. I walked the path.
Outward expression of what's already come to pass.
Yes. Yes. So magic ritual is an art form. Remember what we said before. Your magic, whether it be ceremonial magic or jar spells, low magic, your magic is an art form that puts your consciousness into the proper awareness of the truth. So just like I say all the time, a sad song doesn't make you feel sad. What it does is it connects you with a sadness that's already in you and brings it to the surface. That's all art ever does. It communicates something already there. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Patchy, what'd you say?
That's it. Kind of like the point you were making with listening to a sad song and bringing those feelings of sorrow and sadness to the surface. Basically, yeah, you're right about that, but it also takes these feelings of sadness that were brought up on the surface and amplifies it.
Right. It magnifies it, it brings it to your attention, and it lets you process and integrate it. So what does magic do? The same thing. You have when magic doesn't work? When you're desperate for it to work. I know that's not entirely true. Some people still have success, but when you're really desperate for it and you're really attached to it, when it's an egocentric desire that's not really based in a realistic thing, and it's not really what your higher self wants, it fails every time. Like if you learn a bigger lesson from not getting it, that's what's going to happen. So instead of seeing magic as a way to get shit and make money and fuck whores, magic is really there for you to look. All good magic begins with divination. I don't do many rituals without either an intuitive belief that it's going to come to pass, a pendulum reading, a tarot reading, or a dream or something that tells me divinatorily that this is what I'm supposed to do. Then I do the ritual, and then I don't care if it works or not.
Divination, like before trying to perform any magic to begin with, that's always a good thing to do, because You don't want
Would you leap without looking? No, of course not. You're gonna look first.
to. You're gonna look both ways before crossing the street.
Right.
Unless I'm looking to have a good time or potentially a bad time, or I don't care what happens, I wouldn't look without leaping. I wouldn't leap
The way
without
I see it
looking.
is this: magic works even when you don't get what you want. It still worked. It's just you don't see what the outcome's supposed to be. And a skeptic would say, well, what's the point in that? Because they're so materialistic, they think magic should have a material outcome. But it's not a doer of things. It is a facilitator of experiences. There's a very big difference, but a subtle one. And when you realize that, you will no longer be afraid to talk to a skeptic, because if they say, oh, well, all you're doing is role-playing an art, you say, sure, that's all I'm doing. And you just go back to doing it, and you don't care. You don't feel hurt, because that's fine. If that's all it is. I've had this conversation with people who were having doubts in their magic. I said, if I were to be able to prove to you right now, if I were to be able to take the mask off the world and prove to you right now that magic does nothing, it causes nothing, you can't get any wishes fulfilled because of it, would you still do it? If they answer yes, they're doing magic the right way. If they say no, then they should never do magic again. Period. It's not for them. They're barking up the wrong tree. Thank you, Patchy.
So real quick, I don't know how much longer you were planning of going on, but I do notice that we are getting a little bit long in the tooth here. So
we're doing overtime.
Yeah,
we got a super sticker there.
Super chat from Spirit X Diesel. Thank you very much, dude. Didn't say anything, but tagged us with a sticker gife. Yes. A fucking sticker gife. Jesus Christ. So I'm going to go with the assumption of we're wrapping up more or less at this point. So I figure I got our little fucking pentagram tokens for, you know the drill from last time, DH. I've got a couple of questions left to get to if you want to hit them.
Okay, I forget what the tokens mean, but go for it.
Yeah, so I figure we'll give like 5 to 8 minutes for each question. I've only got like 5 left. So I'll give you guys like, let's say 6 minutes per topic. Get your thoughts out there. And after that timer goes off, wrap up concluding thoughts. And if you really, really want to hammer something home, then you can redeem one of those tokens to keep talking. I don't know, my idea of a game show. I need to implement this
we need music
sooner on, yeah. So yeah, fuck it, I'm gonna hit it. First one is from Wyatt Coverdale. Asks, another Lovecrafty question for Patchy. Would I hesitate before even considering connecting with the demon Sultan? I've been told that magicians should be heavily warned against it.
If you mean the demon, I'm just going to interject for a second. I think he might be talking about Azathoth, because that's the demon sultan of the, whatever. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Read it again.
He said, should I hesitate before even considering connecting with the demon Sultan? Sulton. I've been told that magicians should be heavily warned against it.
I'm not sure if he's talking about a specific spirit named Sultan. I've never heard of it, so.
Yeah, I don't think I've heard to say Sultans.
Yeah, that may be one that we're all just completely unfamiliar with. In which case, I say go for it. You should dive in head first and let us know what happens.
Yeah, we'll look for you on the news, and if not, we'll see you next week.
Sultan too, and come back with you on that one. I'll let you know my experiences.
Okay, he says Azathoth. Okay, so Azathoth. Yeah, I'll let you go first, Patchy.
Well, I will say this though. If you plan on working with the Azathoth, just be a little careful, man. You don't want to try and dive too deeply the first couple of times working with Azathoth, man, dude.
So Azathoth in my head movie is just literally chaos itself. It's the consciousness that is dreaming everything.
essentially yes, and it's not saying that Azathoth isn't worth working with, because he is, but you just gotta kind of be careful with that, because like when you're invoking Azathoth like that and actually bringing Azathoth in your life, you're bringing like essentially just like the consciousness of pure chaos in your life. So all I'm saying is just approach with caution. Really know what you're doing. If that makes any sense.
I think the reason it's dangerous isn't really because of Azathoth. I think it's because people have these ideations of what it is. If you want to invoke Azathoth really, go get yourself an hour in a sensory deprivation tank. But before you do, learn how to do mindfulness meditation, where you are able to fully eliminate habitual thinking so that you can sit in total silence and peace, and go into a sensory deprivation tank and see what's there when it's just you. When you eliminate all thoughts and all experiences, and it's just your mind and it's just consciousness, that's Azathoth. It's the blind idiot god. The blind idiot god that's kept dreaming at the heart of the world and must be kept asleep by the lulling pipers. Of course, where do they exist? Because if Azathoth is dreaming the universe into being. So Azathoth really is consciousness without anything.
Almost chaos.
Yeah, exactly. So the real danger there is not getting there. That's never dangerous at all. That's actually where all the Zen Buddhists and everybody goes when we do all this. What you're really getting the danger is all the bullshit you're going to pick up along the way that calls itself that, because it sounds spooky and scary. You're going to get a monster because you're looking for a monster.
If you approach, not just with Azathoth, but with just like with magic and the occult entirely, with a bunch of fear and thinking that with a bunch of fear and confusion, that's all you're really going to get out of it.
Yeah. Well, it's the same thing as somebody who takes a hit of psychedelics and doesn't know what they're getting into, when their ego dissolves and they go, "Ooh!" That's an Azathoth moment.
Yeah.
Okay, but someone who has trained themselves with proper transcendental methods first and really understands what they're getting their big toe into, they might go, "Ooh!" but it's gonna be, "Oh, I was right," and that's all. I mean, it's just gonna be more vivid. I'm fully expecting that when I walk out of the purga moment, I'm fully expecting that I'm both going to validate what I'm saying and also eat my words. I'm probably gonna be like, "Holy shit, I had no idea, but I was completely right." I have a feeling that's what I'm gonna say.
I like the errata that Wyatt added to that. He said, "Seriously? I thought Azathoth was much crazier than that, like end of galaxy scenario."
Yes, do you know why? Come on, Wyatt, you're a smart kid. What happens when consciousness turns off? What happens when consciousness wakes up? What happens when consciousness stops dreaming? What did I just tell you? Go into a sensory deprivation tank without any stimulus at all. Stop daydreaming, stop thinking, have a completely silent mind, and just be there with your awareness without any thoughts or ideations. You just destroyed the universe in that moment, because the universe ceased to exist for you. Azathoth has awoken in that moment. You want him to go back to sleep? Start thinking about flutes playing. Hello, the symbolism is so obvious what Lovecraft was. He might not have realized what he was saying, but that's what he was saying. He was basically talking about consciousness. I don't care who, I will have this argument with Lovecraft himself and make him go, "Holy shit, you're right. I had no idea I was channeling my own consciousness." Well done, Thorn. I mean, I'm so confident that it's ridiculous. What's Yog-Sothoth then? Yog-Sothoth is all the souls, all the eyes of all the universe, all the identities of all the universe as one amalgamation of all things.
Past, present, and future.
Right. It's all the identities that you are, but it knows it. It's basically chaos aware of itself fully in every way. It's like the next step down from Azathoth. So consciousness, pure consciousness, Azathoth aware of all its potential parts is Yog-Sothoth. And what's Nyarlathotep? That is your watcher. That is your individuated highest possible incarnation. That is the soul.
Oh.
So this is what it's all pointing at. This is why Lovecraft is a very powerful the problem is it's so ideated with monsters that it's just like, oh, shutting up.
Closing thoughts. That was the gong of
it-
closing comments.
Yeah, last sentence or two. It's literally, oh fuck, I've lost my place. Fuck. Oh, it's like we were saying with the dark clothes and edginess before. Hidden in that edgy Lovecraftian mythos is higher spiritual truth, I promise you. Okay, now I'm done.
Okay. You got any closing thoughts, Patchwork?
What's up?
Do you have any closing thoughts on that?
Any closing thoughts? Yeah, you should totally read not only the Simon Necronomicon, but you should also read a bunch of Lovecraftian stuff as well.
Look, Lovecraft will get you in the mood for magic if you're remotely receptive to dark magic.
Oh yeah.
Lovecraft will.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
I said Lovecraft will definitely get you in the mood for dark magic if you're not already. I mean, it's a gateway drug to magic, man. It really is.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
This next one is probably a short one. This comes from Gogo. They asked, "What do you think about Rose Crowley?" I will say that I've watched a few of her videos. I found it's been a while. I remember finding what she had to say interesting, and I know people that I respect hold her in high regard, but I don't have too much of an opinion about her. I'd be curious to hear more of what she has to say, though. I just haven't listened to too much of her video. Yeah, too much of her videos. There we go.
I have no opinion either way. Done.
Never seen.
I literally have no opinion at all.
I'll look up Rose Crowley and get back to you on that one.
Yeah, it's kind of like I know who it is. I haven't really.
I've never even heard the name before, man.
Yeah, I remember I'm not affiliated with Become a Living God, and I also don't spend a lot of time reviewing other occultist work.
Yeah,
I probably should do that more, but I really
doing
don't.
my own thing.
Yeah, exactly.
I wasn't even aware that she was affiliated with Bog at first. Like, I found her, I'm like, okay, this is interesting. Like, what's that?
I said, really? She was affiliated with Bog? I had no idea.
She just did a book with EA recently, something about love magic or something.
Apply that stuff.
Well, like
I said, I'm busy doing my own thing.
Exactly. And when I first found out about her, it was direct to her channel. I'm like, okay, this is kind of interesting. Like, you don't see that many fucking occultists in our sphere that aren't affiliated with Bog somehow. And then next thing I know, on my Instagram feed, I see a fucking picture of her on Bog. I'm like, oh, okay. So yeah, I don't know if that's a very satisfying answer, but that's the honest answer.
Yeah, I mean, she seems nice. I don't know.
Yeah, she's
like I said, no opinion, zero either way.
Yeah, no disrespect. I mean, like I said, people I hold in high regard hold her in high regard. So, she seems cool, but I haven't consumed enough of her material to have an opinion.
I'll have to go check her out after all this and let you guys know in Discord what I think.
So next one is also from GoGo. They said, they apologize, say their English isn't perfect. Say, did the spirits ever lie to you about their name?
Is this a question for one of us specifically, or just at all?
No, this is a free-for-all right now. Fucking blood in the water, and you guys are the sharks. Yeah, you know what? I will rant too much about this, so please, one of you take it.
Wait, well, what's wrong with ranting, Fleshy? What if I want you to rant?
Come on now.
I don't know.
I'm sorry, what?
I haven't ever ran across a situation where I perceived a spirit lying about their name or any of that, but I'm also just an outlier with the whole fucking naming thing. So I don't really know how much my opinion is going to be what you are seeking and how much of it is going to be my own little, like, don't worry about the fucking name rant that I do all the time.
Now, me personally, if I've ever had any experiences with spirits lying about their names or whatever, ever like felt like I was ever being lied to by a spirit. No. Can't say that I have.
Yeah, I mean, that's a weird one because, again, is the whole what does a name even mean when it comes to a spirit on some level. But, you know, remember, a lot of this is method acting style stuff, and intuition and your own shadows coming forth and all this kind of stuff. A lot of the times, you know, you can get definitely like walk-in type spirits if you're just leaving yourself open to whatever, and then whatever comes, you know, can be all kinds of shit, and you may get
a pretty dangerous game too.
It can. I mean, mostly it's your own shadow that's coming out when you do that, but it can absolutely be a tricky thing. And, you know, spirits aren't there to tell you the objective, literal truth in the materialistic sense. They're there to guide you in your awareness. And if they tell you a name, well, that's just the name you're supposed to be thinking about at that moment. You know, if they lie to you like I'm your dead grandma or something like that, I mean, I've never done that style of channeling, so it's never really come up like that. I don't really have a lot of faith in that one, to be honest with you. You know, I think a lot of the time that is charlatanry. Not always, but a lot of the time it is. And so I don't really feel very confident. Like if someone says, could you channel my dead uncle or something? Be like, no. Even if I feel like I could, I'm going to say no. Maybe my confidence level is not there, but I've never run into anybody who I could actually say really did it. And I've looked, I'm not saying I've looked like a hardcore researcher into it, but I've looked and I've never, like, there's a lot of people who, like, I'm sure that I have a hater who like, I can do it. And then like, you know, try to show me up or something, but I don't have a lot of faith in people that say they can do that. Most of the time they're employing tricks and you know, psychiatric leading and stuff like that is they will say it's an objective material truth, but it's not. And so it's more damaging. I'll be honest with you and say, if I'm going to channel your grandmother, what I'm channeling is my impression of them. It is not going to be accurate one for one. It's going to be my intuitive impression of them. And I'm going to channel that through me as best I can. So if you're going to ask me, like, where did my grandmother leave my jewels? I have no fucking clue. I'll take a guess, though. And the ironic thing is, if I'm doing it right, maybe I'll actually get the right answer. But, you know, it's really, you know, don't bet the farm on what a medium tells you, ever. Not even me. Don't bet the farm on anything we tell you. This is why, here's the real thing, guys, okay? I'll do magical services, but I'm not going to do things that you are meant to put your life on the line over, not because I lack the confidence, it's because you should be doing the magic for yourself. If you want to know, you call grandma. And people say, well, I don't know how. You know how you do it? It's real easy. Go think about grandma. Go daydream a moment that you had with grandma and ask her a question in your daydream and say, what does she say? You're going to get pretty close to what is actually going to be said. You know, just think about your grandma for a minute. Think about grandma for a minute. Now think about something that you might ask her. Think about what she says. Really, really do that. Well, you just channeled grandma.
Oh, yeah.
There's really not that big a difference between that and what I do, except I go into a level of transcendental state to do it. I'll go a little deeper into my transcendental state to do that. Instead of just daydreaming it for a minute, I will go deep into that trance state and really clear out any... So the point of going into a transcendental state is so that your own conscious bullshit doesn't supersede your intuition. And that's hard to do, especially on camera and shit. It's really hard to do that. You have to get so lost in the character that you're not wishful thinking when you answer a question. You know, so if I'm channeling someone's grandma and they say, where's the family jewels? If my attention is too much on my own mind, I'm either going to have a doubt that I can do that and then I can't, or I'm going to suddenly imagine something goofy like family jewels. You mean like your son, you know, your uncle's underwear or something, you know, and it's going to fuck it all up. Right? It's going to fuck it all up. So that's the trick. That's the pain and the power. And the thing is, if you then rely on that to bet the farm, you're probably going to fuck yourself. But here's a weird, interesting caveat. Dowsing really works, in my opinion. Like dowsing rods, you have people literally find water and iron and all this kind of stuff. Pendulums, likewise, can also work in a very similar way. So I'm not saying you can't find objective things with intuitive things like that. It's just don't put all your eggs in the basket. That's all I'm saying. And don't think that they're a fake when they're wrong. A lot of people are sincerely trying. That's it. Done.
I think that's actually pretty good closing thoughts on it. You got anything for that, Patch? Any closing remarks?
I mean, anything that I wanted to say. I mean, Thorne practically already said it.
That's the great part about. It's like some people accuse me of, why are you so quiet? It's like, well, I could say it and bubble around it, or Thorne could just tell you.
Great minds think alike.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Okay. Question here from Shoddy Ari. How do the elites cast spells in order to line up the gematria? I'm sure I mispronounced that. In order to line up the gematria so perfectly.
Don't know enough about gematria to answer that, except to say that, when they wrote the Bible and all that stuff, a lot of it's based on things that they won't tell you that it's based on, astrology and stuff like that. I mean, it is coded. There's no question. But I can't really say, I'm not familiar enough with gematria to know. You might want to look up.
That's the one that if you take the alphanumeric equivalent of all the letters, it's supposed that's what gematria is, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
It's something with numerology and all that. Yeah.
I just want to make sure I'm on the same page. Yeah, I really feel like some of that is just finding the answers you want to.
True.
Because, not to discredit all of it, like there's still some nuggets of validity within that, I feel like. But how do they... I don't know that there's an intentional lining up. I think certain things can just happen. Whether, maybe it was meant to happen unconsciously, but I don't know if it's intentional in the way that we mean when we say it.
Was the Bible written organically, or was it put together by a bunch of scribes in the early millennium AD? So let's be honest. If you're putting the book together, you can put whatever you want in there. I mean, that's not hard.
Yeah, anybody who thinks that book is organic, just quickly Google the canon of the Bible, and you don't have to dig much further beyond that to see it's clearly not organic.
So, I mean, Fleshy, doing programming, could you program a program that, has code in it that other people don't see, but you know about because you know the cipher? Of course, you could do that very easily. Like, it's not supernatural that it's in there. Is it in there? I think so. I think there are things in there like that. I don't doubt it. And they probably have value. It's just not, that's not where my head's at right now. It's not, like, that's not me. Like, ask me a Zen question.
Yeah, I think that's actually well put, is maybe you could probably find people who could scratch deeper than we could at that, but I think we might just...
A lot deeper.
Yeah, I think we might just be the wrong crowd for that kind of a question.
Yeah, exactly.
Because,
I'm the Alan Watts of black magic. That's what somebody said.
More.
You say...
I'm an Alan Watts left-hand path. I'm a left-hand path black magician Alan Watts. Like, that's my nugget.
Yeah, DH is Alan Watts for people who smoke cloves.
Okay. Yep. Good one.
All right. I'll bounce to the next one. Logan555 says, I'd like to hear AB lucid dreams. I'm not sure.
About
I
lucid
think
dreams.
It's about,
Oof, I don't know if I got it in me, man. That sounds like a topic. I was gonna say let's make one more question in the end and let's keep it a quick one, but oof, that's a whole other. I could rant for hours about that kind of a subject.
Yeah, that's
even with a 6-minute break.
Yeah, I'm that. That one does seem like something that could take up
Let,
an entire stream.
let's stick to Lovecraft and Necronomicon if we can, since we got Patchy, if there's anything related to that stuff.
Okay, so I have
and stuff. Is it, what was the question again?
it was about lucid dreaming broadly. Which I don't know if it was really specific, we might be able to answer it within accountable time, but yeah, that's just too broad right now. What was that? You cut out.
The lucid dreaming and broodings. Hey, goddamn.
Yeah, I want to flip over because that one could easily take up an entire stream or video.
I mean, I could rant about that for hours on end, just about lucid dreaming, and it fits.
Yeah, exactly. A little bit too broad right now. That's an early stream question right there, and unfortunately, you found yourself at the end of it. So, last two questions. We have one from Doomshell Intelligence. Well, actually, you said one more question to end us out on. Do you want to talk about aliens and their relation to angels, or do you want to talk about confidence and magic?
Confidence and magic probably better, because aliens is like a borderline politics for my brain.
Yeah, I know you were mentioning that earlier. So here we go. Doomshell Intelligence asks, so if you don't get what you want in magic and it works, how do you know and it doesn't ruin your confidence? I think I might have misread that.
No, I read it earlier too. I was wondering if we were going to come to that one.
Okay.
Instead of looking for getting what you want, do the magic and be opening to get what you need. Whatever that is. Set it and forget it. Magic doesn't work if you worry about it. You've got to literally do the ritual, and then you can set all the stipulations you want. You can say, I'm going to give it 6 months to work.
Let go.
And then 8 months it'll manifest. You'll be like, well, I guess my spell failed because it happened 8 months instead of 6. No, you're still going to accept it. You're still going to say it worked. It's just like one of the methods of sigil magic that I use is you don't. So I'll create a sigil and I'll put it away. And hopefully I forget. Maybe I'll mix it in with a bunch of others so I don't remember what it was. And then, trusting my intention at the time that I made it, I'll burn it. I'll set it off with the set-off ritual.
Like, do you, gaze into it and, charge it?
It depends. I'll put blood on it. I'll gaze into him. I'll do whatever it takes. There's different ways. I've got a lot of different ways of doing it. I just go by what my gut says.
Oh, okay.
I like the burning method, personally. I like to bloody them and burn them.
Oh, that's kind of like what I like to do. Like, what I do is I'll light a couple candles, light some incense, and I'll gaze upon it.
Yep. Charge them up with intention. With attention. Yep.
And it's like my eyes, until my eyes start to water up, and it's like my imagination kind of starts to play tricks with me and stuff. I see the sigil glowing, growing bigger, it's shrinking and growing, glowing. And it's just like, when I feel that it's time, I'll dab a little bit of my own blood on there, and then I'll drop it in this little cauldron that I have and just burn it. And I'll just scare the ashes outside, and then I declare, so it is done. And then I forget about it.
Yeah. Honestly, the less attached you are to the outcome, the better magic seems to work. Absolutely. Every spell that I've done with the intention of not care, and let go, I can't say any of them haven't come true. It's only the ones that I'm attached to the outcome that seem to fail. When I say attached to the outcome, I mean it's life or death. I'm miserable without it. I'm looking at it all the time, wondering. That's when it doesn't work. Magic is not a fucking vending machine.
Yep.
When people email me with I need you to do a ritual to do XYZ, I just go, oh man, I could just take this person's money right now and be happy, but no, I can't do that because that's not what. And people are like, well, that just means you don't believe, you lack confidence. Dude, I've been doing this since I was 13 years old. If I didn't believe in it, I wouldn't be doing it. I've been doing this all this time, and what I have learned. And we've got a bot in here fucking shooting us with hot girls.
Everybody, holy shit, there's hot girls in man video chat. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Wowee!
I will let one of our very able-bodied mods take care of
Taken
that.
care of.
Reset the timer. So
That's
consciousness is your consciousness is experiencing reality as a timeline right now, and you can redirect that, but you can't do it. Your higher self, your watcher, can do it. Your watcher is what directs your, and it's already done. The course of your life is already fated. People don't like to hear that because of the left-hand path is all about free will, but what has the free will? Your ego doesn't. You can tell your ego to do whatever you want it to do anytime, right?
Yeah, watcher is my watcher is pretty badass. I enjoy working with my watcher.
Sure you do, because that's you. You're supposed to love you might even supposed to hate it for a while until you realize that it's you.
I've never had a moment where I'm just like, oh, I can't stand this. No, it's like, no. It's like every time I've worked with my watcher, called upon my watcher, spoken with my watcher via dreams, I've always had a really cool experience working with the watcher.
I mean, what if your watcher is? What if all the gods are just your watcher in disguise? I mean, this is what I'm telling you guys. It's all the same thing. It's just masks upon masks upon masks.
Who knows?
And
I think they are. I mean, to me, they're all the same.
You know, I want to dig into a practical. God damn it. CM Helnikainian fucking threw off. I'm sorry, by the way. I feel like I mispronounce your name every time I say it. Just fucking threw off my thought process. He said,
yeah, get an easier name, dude.
Right? But I feel bad because my fucking government name is so fucking hard, like, apparently, for other people to pronounce, and then I fuck up somebody else's. He says, hot demons in your astral plane. Want to meet up? I appreciate you, dude.
ASL.
So
Astral Sage location.
God damn.
I didn't. What?
He was making a joke about the fucking porn bot we got.
What did he say?
Hot demons in your astral plane. Want to meet up?
Hell yes, that's good.
So I really want to. You know, Thorn and Patchwork have answered your question really well. I want to kind of dig into the practical sense of what you were asking. I think, from how I interpret it, of ruining your confidence when the magic works, but it's not exactly what you wanted or expected. I kind of like we were talking about earlier. It's that fucking song of you don't always get what you want, but sometimes you get what you need. Is that rather than interpreting it as confidence ruining, just put that part of the ego aside for a little bit and just look at it as, how can I learn from this? What can this tell me? Even if it's purely just something to think about for a little bit. Just there is meaning in there. Even if it doesn't manifest exactly the way that you wanted, it still worked, and that's still powerful. That there is still something
confidence.
In that.
The thing is, the confidence you're looking for is not in results. It's in, is this worth my time to do or not? If it doesn't feel like it, don't fucking do it. Like, people go, oh, magic is all about practice, practice, practice. On some degree, they're right. If you're just doing it half-ass, it's going to suck. You're not supposed to dabble in it, no. But it's not... You're not learning how to sing a song or draw. What you're doing is learning how to get past your conscious filter and realize, just like with meditation, just like with psychedelics, you're learning to get past your bullshit filter.
Yeah.
That's sort of the point.
It's not so much about perfecting the song so much that you can sing it in front of a row of judges. You're not fucking singing for American Idol. All you need to worry about, and fucking correct me if I'm wrong here, the most important thing that you need to worry about is singing it with the confidence that you don't care who hears, because you just feel that is right within yourself.
A song that comes from the heart, as much as it might sound like a crow dying in his freaking wood chipper, is still beautiful.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh. Holy shit, I think we got a little new agey. Holy shit.
But when I hear, like, I'll hear someone who's got like one of those artificially beautiful voices. I don't mean like it's because the computer did. I mean, they're just so like exactly what you predict. Like, oh, listen to her voice, the pipes. And I go, yeah, but I'm not feeling any heart in that. It's just the same quavering. Ah, everybody can do that. I want to. Are you feeling it in that moment? Are you really channeling the feeling of the song? If you are, even if your voice is not as good, I'm probably going to like it.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I think we've all, and, you know, sorry, not sorry to bring this into an artistic talk, but fucking magic is art. Art is magic. I think we've all heard those singers that they're rough around the fucking edges, or just artists in general. They're rough around the edges, but that imperfection when they're really feeling it, really just going for it, just fucking hits something really primal. Just is so
perfect
glorious.
Example. The perfect example. The song "Creep" by
oh yeah, good one.
Radiohead.
All right.
That song, when sung from the heart, like when, and even fucking when Prince did it, his version of it, dude, chills and almost tears come down. It's like, oh, this song. And it's not because the song's that good. It's just a handful of notes thrown together over and over and over again. The cool part is
if you
it's the performance of it.
If you okay, so this is our this is my assigned fucking homework for DH and everybody else. We're doing Fight Club rules right now. If you haven't heard it, yeah, there is a radio station put out a video of a homeless guy singing "Creep," and oh, fucking chills, rough around the edges, fucking voice, but oh man, he comes across like he fucking feels it. It's a good video.
Yeah, sounds good. I think you should find it.
Oh, fucking.
So I think that's it. My voice is turning into. I feel like there's a Sahara desert in my throat.
Yeah, that's about as much. Yeah, we've been going for almost 4 hours. Like, this is a good.
Like, I feel the blood coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been 4 hours, 10 minutes to 4 hours. So, Patchy, I appreciate you for coming on, brother. We missed you. It's been a little while. I hope you've been okay.
Oh, you're right back.
Good to see you, dude. Of course, Fleshy's leaving when we're supposed to be shutting down. God damn it.
Yeah, it's always.
He's like, no, I'm just leaving. He's just like, I'm just leaving. I'm out. Bye.
And I thought the reason I hadn't been here very much is I kind of had a lot going on, and so adjusting to different situation stuff going on in my personal life, and just not having a whole lot of time anymore.
And hey, I caught the tail end of that, but I'm just gonna say that, like, this goes for you and this goes for everybody. Like, we fucking appreciate the hell out of you guys for showing up to these streams and everything and hanging out and letting us know there's some other weirdos like us out there in the universe. We don't expect you to show up every stream. Like, fucking Ace the Goblin. He also hasn't been here in a little while, but I saw him pop up earlier on stream. We don't expect you to tune in every night, but you being here makes it that much more fucking awesome. So, appreciate all of you.
Yeah, I just realized he was here. We didn't say hi to him special. I do miss the guy. He's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a cool fucking dude.
Yeah. So anyway, we do this every Thursday. If you guys like what we're doing, you don't hate us. Me and Flesh are here every Thursday. We try to have guests. Sometimes we try to have a little structure. Sometimes it's just me bullshitting and ranting. But it's always a good time.
Sometimes.
We don't take ourselves as seriously as it might look. We are actually very, what do we say? Don't take yourself more seriously than your enemies do. So, trust me, we're here to just have some fun and talk about what we like. I talk a lot, but that's because I don't talk much otherwise. Believe it or not, I'm actually really quiet most of the time. This is like my chance to just get it all out, and it all comes out in one big giant fucking hurricane. So, I appreciate that you guys come here to listen to me and Fleshy rant for hours. And it is exhausting, but it's fun. It's cathartic, and it gets a lot of it out. And if you like what you're seeing, make sure you subscribe. And if you want to help me out personally, you can share these videos. You can buy my books, which Fleshy's holding up. They all look red because of his light. I've got 3 books out right now, and many more in the works. We'll see how many more will actually get done before I die. But I've got 3 books out. They're out right now. Become the Maelstrom is the primary book. Shadownomicon's probably my most unique book, and the one I'm probably maybe I don't know about more famous for, but I don't think anybody else has done one like it. Yeah, I'm kind of like the only person who's done it, and I've changed a lot of minds. Like that one's had the bigger impact, in my opinion, of the 3 books, and of course the Vampire
Handbook.
The Infernal Vampire Handbook is too much of a title. I never should have titled it. I should have put it like, here, bite people.
I don't think you were aiming for it, but I fucking appreciate the hell out of the pun. I know. I didn't, and then I did, and then I was like, well, it's too late now. Let's just go with it. Plus, my wife wanted to be part of my work. That's her hand. So, yeah. So if you guys like me and you like my work, go to the description of this video or any of my videos and look for the Linktree link. Click on that motherfucker. It will take you to all the links that are associated with me and my work. You can buy my books. You can go to my sort of website blog where you can potentially hire me for ritual services if you want. Preferably consults, though. I do consults more than I do ritual because I don't like doing ritual for people very much. And you can also go to my Patreon page, not just to give me money, although I do love that. There is a classroom schedule that I do through that. Every Monday night at 9 to about 10 or 11, I do a weekly class that's a lot more formal than this. I try anyway. It's more like a lecture, and it's a classroom. I ask questions. We even do ritual work, meditation stuff together. It's not as good as a one-on-one real life thing, but but I get you as close as I can to a good experience until I burn out sometimes, and I'm like, all right, what do we talk about this week? But it's pretty structured. We go through my books to a point and everything else, so that's always really good. So if you're interested in that, sign up for that. It's only $20 a month, and it's once a week, so you get your money's worth. It's a pretty good class. Otherwise, I think that's it. Fleshy Patchy, do you have anything you want to share with everybody else, like a parting shot, a come see me here, anything?
I do not.
Damn it, Patchy, come prepared next time. I'm kidding.
I'm sorry.
I'll have to link to his channel or something in the pinned comment.
Yeah, that's good.
Dude,
Fleshy, is there anything you want to promote?
Over a year on my channel.
That's fine.
Making more videos.
Yeah. Yeah, I have something I want to promote. I'll just
my Etsy. No, I'm just kidding.
Fucking yeah. Rah, rah, rah. I'm gonna parrot and echo. And hey, there's an Etsy. If you guys have seen the prior streams, right behind me is a fucking bitchin' ass mirror that Camilla made. And honestly, just check out DH's shit. Like, I'm not just here because I'm on payroll or anything like that. Like,
you're really not, because we haven't gotten enough super chats lately to reach the threshold that I pay you over. I mean, my goodness, guys,
yeah,
what the hell?
I'm here because I enjoy it, and this is my fucking.
I donated in super chats.
Yeah, I fucking appreciate that, dude.
I'm teasing, man. This is fun for us. The money is a second, except this is my career, so
yeah,
it's fun and I get paid. So I do have to. I'm not trying to be a sellout or a snake oil salesman or any bullshit like that. This is my practice. I give you my sincere opinions, and my work is sincere. If you like it, support it. If not, don't worry about it. It's okay.
Yeah, so go support my buddy Thorn, and fucking appreciate all of you motherfuckers who tune in, especially the people who tune in all the way to the very end. You guys are real MVPs. So fucking horns up to all of you.
I think some of you were just asleep and forgot to close the window.
Yeah, Wyatt was actually saying that sometimes he
goes to sleep to us.
Yeah, you saw that comment too. I'm like, yeah, that's not weird. I do that shit too. So
I go to sleep to me too, man. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, fucking I pass out to my own thoughts.
Oh, yeah, well, I was thinking
also that, yeah. So yeah,
dude,
fucking
sometimes I just kind of lay there and we'll just drift off. Drift off deep into the void, and
and his last thought is about Thorn and Fleshy. No, that's kind of gross.
That's hell.
That's well, it depends. I mean, depends who's got the front and the back. Shut up, Dan.
Okay, I'm gonna quickly transition away from that, and I'm going to read a comment from Dorian1221. Good night. Always remember, mind the shadows.
Because that might be and is in fact what you are.
Tell your friends, warn your enemies.
Take yourself more seriously than, oh shit, what's the button? Fuck! All right, guys. Well, that's it for me. We only hit 50.